Chapter 312. I plan to ask Yin Yin to move back here after the birthday party. Gu Xinyan's words rang out at the dining table. Gu Duo's face paled visibly. When he was the happiest. Hearing this, she immediately put down her chopsticks and said happily. She's willing to give up the treatment at the rehabilitation center? She's willing to move back here? Yes. Gu Xinyan responded. He glanced at Gu Duo from the corner of his eye. When he was overjoyed, she held her husband's hand and said, Old Gu then. Then I have to quickly tidy up the East Court for Yin Yin. Oh right. Since Yin Yin is coming back, Naaneo should be coming back too. We have to prepare a few more servants for the East Court. Why don't we send Fei Lina over first? Gu Heng hadn't seen his wife so happy in a long time. He patted her hand and said, Don't be so busy. Xin Yan must have a reason for suddenly mentioning this. He'll get it done. As he spoke, he looked up at Gu Xinyan. His eyes were dignified, but there was no lack of affection. Gu Xinyan put down his chopsticks and said, Yin Yin and Naaneo are back. It's too late to tidy up the East Court now. The West Court was originally Yin Yan's house. It's only right that it should be returned to its rightful owner. So when Yin Yin comes back, she can just move into the West Court. When Yi was slightly stunned when she heard this, she glanced at Gu Duo beside her and said hesitantly, But Duo is staying in the West Court. She's staying in the guest room. It's not a problem. Gu Xinyan's words made Gu Duo's face turn pale. For the past 34 years, ever since she had been adopted into the Gu family, she had been living in the guest room of the Gu family's West Court. She called out Gu Duo's name and lived like a shadow of Gu Duo. She didn't even have the right to enter the master bedroom that belonged to the original Gu Duo. After dinner, when he entered her son's bedroom with a glass of warm milk and sat down on the sofa. Isn't it too hurtful to say those words in front of Duo at dinner? After all, she grew up in the Gu family, so she can be considered half a daughter of the Gu family. Gu Xinyan frowned and said seriously, Mom, it's better to end the pain quickly than to prolong the pain. You should know what I'm talking about. If it weren't for the fact that she has accompanied you for more than 30 years, she would have left long ago. At the mention of Gu Duo, a trace of hostility flashed across Gu Xinyan's eyes. When he knew the reason behind it, she sighed helplessly and patted her son's shoulder. Mom knows you're a man of your own ideas. Duo has indeed gone overboard. But you're only willing to let her go because of my relationship with her family and the fact that she's your cousin. I hope she knows what she's doing and accepts your kindness. I don't need her to accept my kindness. I just want her to stop stirring up trouble and making the Gu family a mess. When he pursed her lips and asked hesitantly, Yin Yin, are you still worried about Xiaoqi? When I went to the rehabilitation center to accompany Yin Yin, I heard from her that you met a girl in China that you liked. I thought you would bring her back for us to meet after you were done with the things here. Gu Xinyan lowered his head. No such thing. Mom, you should rest early. When he knew it was useless to say more. Her son had always been stubborn. She knew her own son best, so it was not good for her to persuade him. Late at night, Gu Xinyan opened his wallet. The photo inside had turned yellow. After looking at it for a few seconds, he seemed to have thought of something painful. He closed his wallet again and threw it into the drawer. The next night, Florida was brightly lit. From the port to the garden hotel where the banquet was held, it was decorated with lights and streamers. There were waiters along the way. Ling Han arrived in Los Angeles in the morning. After a long day, he finally took a boat to Florida. Beside him was his overseas partner, Daniel. Why did they choose such a remote island to hold the party? When they got off the boat, Ling Han frowned. Daniel smiled. The media association is good at taking advantage of loopholes. I heard that the second daughter of the Gu Financial Group's birthday party is also being held here. They got wind of it in advance and reserved the venue. Then they gave half of the venue to the Gu family as a favor. They want to use this opportunity to build a relationship with the Gu family and open up the American market. Ling Han nodded slightly, but there was some contempt in his eyes. I'm afraid the Gu family might not appreciate it. President Ling has had dealings with the Gu family before? 5 years ago. We met a few times, but we can't say that we've had dealings. A trace of loneliness appeared in Ling Han's eyes. After Yi Huanyan's accident, Gu Xinian also disappeared from the country. He had not been seen for 5 years. After they got off the boat, the waiters led Ling Han and Daniel to the car and drove in the direction of the hotel. Just as Daniel said, the Red Maple Hotel merged the open-air venues of the 2 banquets into one. After entering the hall, the left and right sides of the hall were the parties for both parties. This masquerade party suggestion was also made by the Gu family, right? Ling Han sneered and covered his face with the clown mask. Daniel chuckled. Isn't that so? It's just to make it easier to enter someone else's venue. But if you wear this thing, it won't be easy for them to find you. The banquets for both parties started almost at the same time. The venue for the Gu family's birthday party was twice as big as the venue for the Media Association's party next door. The guests who came and went were all reputable investors in the industry. Yi Huanyan changed her clothes in the dressing room and was choosing a mask when Gu Xinian knocked on the door and walked in. He was holding a large burgundy rectangular suede box in one hand and holding Naneo's hand in the other. Naneo saw Yi Huanyan and made a funny face at Yi Huanyan with a grin. Then he dove into the sofa to play his new game. Brother, you're here? Yi Huanyan smiled. Gu Xinian nodded. I brought you something. Having said that, he opened the burgundy suede box on the dressing table. A whole set of hand-cut diamond jewelry sparkled under the light. There was a tassel necklace, a pair of earrings, a headdress and a bracelet. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Her eyes were full of astonishment. Flame's heart. Gu Xinian nodded approvingly. Yes, the Flame's heart. Mom asked me to bring it to you. It's your birthday present this year. Yi Huanyan gasped. It was said that the Flame's heart was inlaid with more than 1,000 diamonds. The red ruby in the middle was the one inlaid in the crown of the Eastern European royal family in the last century. Later, it wandered to Northern Europe and was inlaid in a diamond necklace by a famous Chinese designer. It was named the Flame's Heart. Because of its ridiculously high price, there was no market for it back then. It was temporarily collected by the Nordic National Treasure Museum. Later, the designer retired and left Northern Europe with this set of Flame's Heart. Brother, this is fake, right? Yi Huanyan couldn't believe that she had seen the real thing in her life. Gu Xinian took off the Flame's Heart necklace and asked calmly, Do you think Mom would give you a fake necklace as a birthday present? But legend has it that the Chinese designer brought the Flame's Heart back to his hometown and buried it with him. Grandpa is not that boring. Gu Xinian rolled his eyes at her. Grandpa. Yi Huanyan's lips twitched. You mean the designer? It's our grandpa. Gu Xinian finished her sentence. Chapter 313. It was said that the second daughter of the Gu family had set her sights too high. She was unmarried at the age of 34 and had never shown her face in public. The Gu family was not worried at first, but when the eldest daughter turned 29, they finally started to worry. That was why they held a ball every year under the pretext of her birthday. Their actual purpose was to help the second daughter choose a husband. It was also said that the second daughter had actually been married before and even had a child. However, her husband disliked her for being ugly, so he divorced her. Daniel was a chatterbox. After staying in the capital for 2 years, he spoke in Beijing dialect Mandarin. Relying on the fact that no one else could understand him, he kept nagging Ling Han nonstop. He only stopped when he had finished gossiping about the second daughter of the Gu family. Ling Han was not interested in the second daughter of the Gu family. He was not in the right state of mind the entire day. 5 years ago, today was the anniversary of Yi Huanyan's death. There was someone buried in his heart, so he didn't dare to stay in the country. He was afraid that the long night would be boring and bring back sad memories. So he left and found this noisy place. He let this nagging partner beside him gossip with him about all kinds of interesting news about the Gu family. Daniel finally stopped for a while and left his surroundings. He went to strike up a conversation with those women, who seemed to be very beautiful behind their masks, leaving Ling Han to lean against the table and drink alone. He glanced at the entrance from the corner of his eye. A woman in a luxurious pink dress was arguing with the waiter at the entrance. She looked unhappy, and finally took off the mask on her face and threw it on the counter. Ling Han's gaze tensed up. The charm in her eyes overlapped vaguely with that person in his memory. In an instant his hands and feet turned cold. When he chased after her, the woman had already lifted her dress and was heading to another banquet hall. She left behind a colorful feather mask at the door. He picked up the mask on the ground and asked the waiter, "Who was that woman just now?" The waiter, who was in charge of verifying the guests' identities, was slightly stunned. "I think she's a guest from the Gu family. She just entered the wrong hall and thought she was here." A guest from the Gu family? On the other side, at the Gu family's birthday party. "Thank you everyone for coming to my daughter's birthday party. For the opening dance, according to the old rules, my daughter will choose her own dance partner." The woman who spoke at the top of the stairs was wearing a blue feathered mask. Her light purple gauze skirt shone under the light. Her tone was very excited. Although it was obvious that she was around 60 years old, her spirit and temperament were very outstanding. Ling Han chased the woman in the pink dress into the door. When he heard this, his gaze involuntarily followed the crowd to the top of the spiral staircase. It was a young woman with a graceful figure. She was wearing a dark evening gown. As the gown swayed, specks of light flickered, as dazzling as the stars. A woman's envious voice came from beside her. "The gown that second Miss Gu is wearing this year is even more beautiful than the one last year. It's said that it's worth 10 million US. There are more than 900 diamonds embedded in the gown. Heavens, is that the heart of flames on second Miss's neck?" Exclamations rose and fell in succession throughout the entire venue. "No matter how expensive your clothes are, it doesn't matter if you're ugly." A voice that did not fit into Ling Han's ears muttered. He looked in the direction of the voice and only saw a pink gown. His eyes narrowed. He walked through the crowd and looked for the pink gown. On the stairs, Yi Huanyan was wearing a mask on her face. Holding Wen Yi's hand, she slowly walked down the stairs. Halfway down, she suddenly saw a woman in pink hurriedly holding her gown and running up the stairs. "Mommy!" The woman in the pink gown walked between the two of them and held Wen Yi's arm without any hesitation. She pushed Yi Huanyan aside. Everyone was stunned. Wen Yi smiled gently and generously. Holding Gu Duo's hand, she explained to the guests at the bottom of the stairs. "Excuse me, this is my sister's daughter. She grew up by my side and is like my own daughter." A trace of embarrassment flashed across Gu Duo's eyes. She did not expect that even her mother, whom she had called for more than 30 years, would draw a line between her and herself. This was all because of Gu Huanyan, who had appeared out of nowhere. "Yen Yen is about to start dancing. Don't disturb her. Go down first, do you hear me?" Wen Yi lowered her voice to remind Gu Duo. Gu Duo sneered in her heart, but maintained a smile on her face. She pretended to nod obediently, then lifted her gown and prepared to go down the stairs. When she walked past Yi Huanyan, she suddenly tripped. The moment she fell, she raised her hand and grabbed Yi Huanyan's mask. There was an uproar below the stage. It was said that the second miss of the Gu family was extremely ugly. Once she showed up, everyone present would probably throw up all the food they had eaten. Yi Huanyan staggered and held onto the railing to lower her head. Gu Duo had already pulled off her mask, and it fell on the stairs. Wen Yi was so scared that her face turned pale. She anxiously tried to block Yi Huanyan's face. Yi Huanyan held her hand. "Mom, it's okay." The moment she spoke, the hearts of all the men present stirred. There was a hint of charm in her hoarse voice. It was different from the rest, and people would remember her after hearing her voice. Ling Han, who was chasing after Gu Duo through the crowd, was also stunned. On the stairs, the well-dressed woman slowly raised her head. Her chestnut-colored wavy hair fell over her shoulders, making her skin look even fairer. Her red lips curved into a subtle smile, and there was a myriad of emotions in her eyes. When he covered her mouth in shock, hot tears welled up in her eyes. Oh my God! No one knew why the usually dignified and elegant Madame Gu would lose her composure and cry at this moment. Even Mr. Gu, who was sitting in the private room on the second floor, suddenly stood up and stared at his daughter in a daze. His weathered face was etched with an expression of disbelief, which then slowly turned into one of emotion. Yi Huanyan held her mother's hand and smiled. Mom, aren't we going to start the dance? When he finally regained her senses. When she held Yi Huanyan's hand again and went down the stairs, she was sincerely proud and confident. She asked, Everyone, do you think my daughter is beautiful? Beautiful. One after another, praises sounded at the banquet. For the past 5 years, all kinds of sarcastic rumors were dispelled. Gu Duo held onto the stairs and stood up. Her face was pale, and she almost crushed her teeth from gritting them. When did this Gu Huanyan become so beautiful? Did she know witchcraft? Was she a witch? Last time, she looked like a ghost in front of her. She had almost scared her to death. Yin Yin, choose one. When he put down her hand and patted Yi Huanyan's shoulder, she looked at all the young talents present. Yi Huanyan's eyes twinkled. Her eyes were full of charm, and she was exceptionally beautiful. She swept her gaze across the crowd and pointed at a figure in a black suit in the crowd. She smiled at him. Is that gentleman okay? The crowd made way and looked enviously at the lucky man who was favored. That man was wearing a well-tailored black suit. He was 185 meters tall and had a strong body. There was nothing to criticize about his appearance and temperament. He walked out of the crowd and looked at the woman in front of him in a daze. Chapter 314. From the moment the woman in pink deliberately fell down the stairs and pulled off second Miss Gu's mask, Ling Han was certain that this woman in pink was not Yi Huanyan. Even though she looked 70% similar to Yi Huanyan, he was prepared to leave immediately, but the woman on the stairs, who had almost become a laughing stock, slowly raised her head. In that moment, his soul seemed to be drawn into her eyes. This second Miss Gu gave him a very mysterious sense of familiarity. He couldn't quite put his finger on it, so he couldn't help but walk out of the crowd and put his hand on her shoulder. He couldn't help but dance with her. If Sir didn't wear a mask, would you also stare at a woman like this? She asked. Under the mask, Ling Han's gaze froze. He felt inexplicably flustered, and a sense of guilt spread in his heart. He couldn't explain what he was thinking, but when he opened his mouth, he said in a gentle voice, You're the first. The moment he said those words, he couldn't believe it himself. She laughed. Her laughter was wanton, and before he could react, she leaned against his chest and breathed softly. Then I'm really honored. Ling Han was dazed for a moment. He stepped on a few wrong steps and relied on her to regain the right rhythm. He tried to find a topic to talk about. Second Miss Gu, why aren't you wearing a mask? She blinked, and there seemed to be shooting stars in her eyes. I'm wearing one. Didn't you see it? There was a strange fragrance on her body. He seemed to have smelled it somewhere before. It made him yearn for it in every way possible. He couldn't bear to part with it, and lingered on it in every way possible. When he panicked again, he actually allowed her to hook her arms around his neck and plant a kiss on his lips through the mask. After the song ended, her dress fluttered and spun around. She floated away from his embrace and control. The moment she looked back, she flashed a seductive smile at him. Then, she lifted her dress and disappeared into the crowd. She left behind a lingering scent on his hand. This woman's ability to seduce men was top-notch. Or rather, her ability to seduce him was top-notch. His heart trembled. This was something that had never happened before. He thought that there would be more, but second Miss Gu didn't show her face until the end of the dance. It was like a dream, an ambiguous and lively dream. Gu Xinian was drinking with Gu Hung upstairs. It was a rare occasion, and also a rare time for the father and son to relax. It was not difficult to tell from Gu Ling's weathered face that he had once been handsome, which did not diminish his son's appearance and demeanor. His every movement exuded the aura of a refined and mature man. Why didn't you come back earlier to tell us about your sister's successful surgery? You made your mommy worry for nothing the whole night. What is she worried about? Gu Xinian picked up his red wine glass indifferently. He stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window and looked at the crowd on the dance floor downstairs. The person chosen by Yi Huanyan was standing alone in the middle, seemingly at a loss. The corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a devilish smile. Gu Ling sighed behind him. Isn't it because she's worried about those rumors? 4 or 5 years in a row, Nian Nian has been masquerading. The outside world has already spread rumors about your sister. Previously, your mommy wanted to arrange for Yin Yen to meet the eldest young master of the Zhao family. She probably heard some rumors. Your uncle Zhao called me the day before yesterday and said that his son already has a girlfriend outside. Isn't that funny? You and my mom don't have to worry. Gu Xinian raised his eyebrows and turned around. Zhao Bo isn't good enough for Yin Yen. Gu Ming snorted coldly and gently shook his red wine glass. He said proudly, "Of course, even if old Zhao says that his son has kept his chastity for more than 30 years, my daughter won't marry into his family. My daughter is worthy of the Eastern European royal family." Gu Xinian was a little speechless. That wasn't what he meant. However, it was rare for the old man to be so happy today. He drank a few more glasses of wine and started to talk nonsense. Wasn't it just a successful surgery? Did he have to be so happy? As they were talking, Yi Huanyan pushed open the door and walked in. As soon as she entered the door, she happily called out to Gu Ling, "Dad." Gu Ming leaned against the sofa, his face slightly drunk. "Yin Yen, I'll let you marry into the Eastern European royal family, okay?" Yi Huanyan's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise, and she looked at Gu Xinian in surprise. "You drank too much." Gu Xinian waved his hand. "Where's Mommy? I think I'll have to ask her to come over and take Dad home early." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan smiled helplessly. She turned and squeezed out a hot towel from the bathroom and handed it to Gu Ling to wipe his face. Gu Ling just stared at Yi Huanyan and smiled very lovingly. "Dad, what are you so happy about?" Yi Huanyan took the towel and wiped his hands for him. Gu Ling patted her hand and turned his head to say in a muffled voice, "Yin Yen, I'm very happy that you can still live a good life." He awkwardly avoided Yi Huanyan's gaze, but his eyes met Gu Xinian's. Ever since Gu Xinian could remember, he had never seen Gu Ling so fragile in the past 40 years. In his eyes, his father was always dignified when he treated his subordinates in the company. He was always kind to the children at home, and always gentle and doting to his mother. However, at this moment, his eyes were red and he clearly looked fragile. In the 20 years that he couldn't find Yi Huanyan, he never took the initiative to mention this daughter in front of his mother. It really made Gu Xinian think that he didn't actually care about her. In fact, a father's forbearance was as heavy as a mountain. All these years, he missed Yi Huanyan no less than his mother. Yi Huanyan held Gu Ling's hand and said helplessly, "Dad drank too much. Why is he acting like a child?" When Yi held Naneo's hand as they walked in from outside the private room. When Naneo saw Gu Ling, he bared his fangs and brandished his claws, and jumped onto his knees. He hugged his neck and didn't let go, calling him Grandpa in a very affectionate manner. Yi Huanyan smacked his little butt. "How many times have I told you? Be gentle. Grandpa can't take you like this." She only smacked him lightly, but when Yi, who was next to her, was so frightened that she yelled and pulled her away. "Io, don't hit him. Your father is in good health." Yi Huanyan sighed. "Mom, you can't spoil him like this. Boys are too naughty." When Yi laughed and said, "How long do we have to live? Just let us be." "Mom, what are you saying?" Yi Huanyan was a little dissatisfied and glared at her. For the past 5 years, she had been living in the rehabilitation center here, because she needed to undergo rehabilitation in peace. During the holidays, the Gu family would come here to accompany her. Her mother was the most diligent. She would come here every few days to bring a bunch of good things for her to nourish her body. She would also tell her interesting stories when she was just born and listen to her talk about growing up all these years. There was a strange connection between blood vessels. The mother-daughter relationship slowly flowed into their blood like a stream. It was as if they had never been apart for more than 30 years and knew each other's feelings. When he left first with Gu Ling and Naaneo, leaving the siblings in the private room to watch the banquet and drink a little wine. Gu Xinian held his wine glass and looked at the figure downstairs. He said meaningfully, "The person who danced with you just now looked a little familiar. Was it him?" Chapter 315. Yi Huanyan was still holding the towel in her hand. It was getting cold. She was about to go to the bathroom when Gu Xinian spoke. She stopped in her tracks. Who are you talking about? You don't have to hide anything in front of your family. Gu Xinian raised his glass at the figure downstairs. The person nodded slightly and raised his glass. He took a sip, then put down the glass and left the ballroom. Yi Huanyan had a complicated expression on her face. You don't want to talk about Xiaoqi. Are you avoiding us? There was no sound behind her. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath and walked into the bathroom with her head down. She placed the towel on the sink and stared blankly at the unfamiliar face in the mirror. Sometimes we don't want to talk about someone because we are avoiding ourselves, not others. Even the people closest to us can't really understand all our feelings. Only we know. In the private room, Gu Xinian frowned and finished the wine in his glass. When Yi Huanyan came out, Gu Xinian had already left. There was a card under the red wine glass on the table. It was Gu Xinian's handwriting. He's having a drink with his partner at Since tonight. The hotel is the Old Castle Hotel next to Since. He'll be returning from Los Angeles tomorrow night. Our boat will be at the West Pier tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Don't forget. Next to the card was Gu Xinian's car keys. He didn't say anything else and left the choice to her. Late at night, the two parties at Red Maple Hotel were coming to an end. The guests gradually left. Daniel's nose was slightly red from drinking. He put his arm around Ling Han's shoulder and hailed a car to go to the next venue. After getting into the car, Ling Han pushed his hand away rudely and frowned. How much did you drink? I met a pretty girl, so I drank a few more glasses. Daniel smiled and put his arm around his shoulder. What about you? You were so distracted after coming back from the Gu family's ball. Did you meet a pretty girl? Was dancing fun? I heard that the second daughter of the Gu family is a great beauty. Ling Han frowned. How did you know? Daniel had a cunning look on his face. Do you want to know? Then follow me to the bar. After leaving the Gu family's birthday banquet, Ling Han looked dispirited. He directly said that he would return to the hotel after the banquet and would not attend the next banquet. Daniel was very dissatisfied with this. Ling Han was not a person who liked to be threatened, so Daniel's move was not a good one. He glanced at him. I'm not interested. Daniel was flustered at first. A person who couldn't keep secrets couldn't be goaded, so in the end, he decided to come clean. The two people from Xingye Media and Gutong Film and Television also snuck into the birthday party. Other than them, there were many people who went to join in the fun. They all know you, so how could they not know that you danced with the legendary second miss? They're probably gnashing their teeth in hatred right now. Why? Ling Han frowned. Daniel chuckled. Last year's birthday banquet for the second miss of the Gu family, President Yi of Xingye Media brought his son. His purpose was very clear, which was to think of a way to win over the second miss in one fell swoop. In the end, that little young Master Yi heard from somewhere that the second miss was ugly and fled at the last minute. In the end, that banquet was for nothing. At this point, he continued to ask, I heard that there was an accident this year. The second miss's mask fell off and shocked everyone. Is that true? Looking at Daniel's rolling blue eyes and that expectant look, Ling Han suddenly felt a little irritated. He loosened his bow tie and said perfunctorily, Yeah. What a pity. Why didn't I join in the fun? Who knows? The second miss might have taken a fancy to me. I just want to find an Asian woman to be my wife. Hearing this, Ling Han frowned. For some reason, he thought of the kiss through the mask and said in a muffled voice, She's not the kind of Asian woman you think she is. I'm afraid that if you bring her home, she'll be a cuckold. This second miss of the Gu family was very licentious. She was so passionate and bold that she would casually offer a kiss to a man. No wonder she was still unmarried in her 30s. Who would dare to marry her? A cuckold? Daniel's Chinese was excellent, but he did not quite understand some of the metaphors in China. Why is my hair green? Does the second miss like green hair? Ling Han rolled his eyes at him. Aren't we going to the bar? How much longer will it take? Daniel immediately regained his composure. You agree to go to the bar? He nodded perfunctorily. He did not want to go at first, but for some reason, when he thought of that woman, that dance, the feeling of her waist, and the smell at the tip of his nose, there was suddenly a ball of fire in his chest that was burning fiercely. He needed a glass of wine to put out this ball of fire. Since bar was a very famous themed bar in the state of Florida, every night, there would be unexpected activities. Sometimes, there would be beautiful strippers on the stage, but they could only be seen from afar and not touched. Sometimes, there would be Western cowboys playing and singing in various corners, and from time to time, they would compete with you in terms of how much they could drink. Sometimes there would be passionate shaking, and the whole bar would spend the whole night in a state of shaking mountains and mountains. Daniel liked unexpected surprises, so he looked forward to this bar. Ling Han, on the other hand, was a little irritated by the kiss just now. He wanted to find a noisy place to fill his mind and forget what kind of day it was. Today was the 5th anniversary of her death. But today, he met a beautiful woman who was celebrating her birthday, and even danced with her face close to his. The more he thought about it, the more irritated he felt. The bar was noisy. As soon as Daniel entered the bar, he was attracted by the rock music on the dance floor, and a group of black buddies, who could not tell the difference between them, shouting, "Oh my God, it's the brass band!" In both Chinese and English, he rushed into the dance floor and danced wildly. Ling Han glanced at the group of crazy people, and found that he was still uninterested. He simply left Daniel, and found a seat at the bar, asked for a glass of whiskey and sat down. A black sports car was parked in front of the bar. Slender legs stretched out of the car, and 12-centimeter high heels stepped on the ground. Chestnut brown wavy hair draped over one shoulder, and was casually pushed behind the ear by a fair hand. The woman was wearing a simple black t-shirt that exposed her navel, and blue hot pants with tassels floating on the edges. When she walked, the tassels slapped her perky buttocks, and it was very seductive. As soon as she got out of the car, the men around her whistled in unison. After a crisp sound of the door closing, the woman walked around the front of the car and smiled at the parking attendant, who was stunned at the entrance of the bar. Her pure London accent was hoarse and charming, and every frown and smile made people's mind ripple. "Little brother, please help me park the car, thanks." The car key drew an arc in the air and was accurately thrown into the parking attendant's hand. A whiff of fragrance floated, and the parking attendant looked at the beautiful Asian woman walking into the bar in a daze. Chapter 316. Tonight's rock and roll party had invited the most famous black band in Europe, who was also Daniel's super idol. At this moment, Daniel's dance moves were completely drowned out on the dance floor. In such a noisy environment, the person who was drinking by himself was definitely someone with a story. His handsome appearance, muscular figure, and deeply furrowed brows were a fatal temptation to women. Ling Han sat at the bar with a glass of wine in his hand for a while, but 4 or 5 women had already approached him to strike up a conversation. He was tired of dealing with them, and couldn't be bothered with them. His words were arrogant and rude, so naturally, they left on bad terms. The bartender spoke in English with a Southern American country accent. He brought a newly made cocktail to Ling Han with a rock and roll vibe. People who come to a bar this late at night are all lonely people. So many beautiful women have been rejected by you. Sir, your standards are really high. If I said that I'm not here to hunt for women, you definitely wouldn't believe me, right? Ling Han reached out to take the wine glass, but before his fingers could touch it, the wine glass was stopped by a fair hand. That hand picked up the wine glass unceremoniously. Amidst the noisy music, he could barely hear her words. She spoke in a pure London accent and fluent English. "Can you treat me to a drink?" He looked up unhappily, and a familiar figure appeared in his eyes. His gaze deepened and he said warily, "It's you." Yi Huanyan curled her lips into a flirtatious smile. "Sir, your pickup line isn't very clever." With that said, she pulled out a chair and sat down. She brushed the loose strands of hair behind her ear and picked up the wine glass. "But I'll take it as you agreeing to treat me to a drink." Ling Han came back to his senses. He was wearing a mask at the banquet, so this second Miss Gu hadn't seen his real face, so she didn't recognize him. Florida wasn't a big state, so the chances of bumping into each other in this bar were high. Thinking of this, he smiled faintly. "Sorry, I got the wrong person." Yi Huanyan twirled the wine glass in her hand with a nonchalant expression. When it comes to flirting, Mr. is really old-fashioned. Hearing this, Ling Han frowned. Being inexplicably thought that he was trying to strike up a conversation, he was somewhat displeased. He had lived for so long, and it had always been women throwing themselves at him. His busy work had never given him the time or interest to strike up a conversation with women. When he thought of the kiss at the ball, he felt a strange feeling in his heart. The way he looked at this second miss of the Gu family changed a little. Since he had already been accused of hitting on her, it was only a casual chat. At least he lived up to this evaluation. Won't your boyfriend worry about you coming out to play alone so late at night? Yi Huanyan seemed to have heard a joke. She lowered her gaze and whispered into Ling Han's ear. Those who come here are either single or are single tonight. Ling Han's heart tightened, not because of this sentence, but because when she leaned over, she gave him an inexplicable sense of familiarity. But he couldn't put his finger on it. She was wearing a strong perfume and reeked of alcohol. Her gaze was languid and seductive. No matter how he looked at it, she was not his type. But this feeling was too familiar, and he was stunned for a moment. When he came back to his senses, she had already ordered a glass of wine and pushed it in front of him. She smiled and said, "It's my treat." This woman was like a ball of fire. She looked warm from afar, but couldn't be approached. If he didn't know that she was the second miss of the Gu family, Ling Han would have thought that she had an ulterior motive for approaching him. Thinking that she was Gu Xinyan's younger sister, combined with Gu Xinyan's romantic affairs, Ling Han laughed coldly in his heart. Like elder brother, like sister, they were probably all people who liked to play around with feelings. It was best to stay away from them. Thanks, he said coldly, and didn't say anything else. Is there something on your mind? You can tell? Of course. Yi Huanyan leaned closer and played with the cocktail in her hand. Would a person with nothing on his mind avoid the busiest part of the bar and sit here drinking alone? The light in Ling Han's eyes dimmed. Seeing this, Yi Huanyan's eyes flashed with a meaningful look. She put her fair arm on the cold, dark bar counter and bent her elbow. She rested her chin on her hand and asked, "Why don't we exchange our thoughts?" She always had a hint of a smile when she spoke. At this moment, her long brown hair was draped over her shoulders, giving her a kind of lazy beauty. Her collar was wrinkled because of her movements, revealing the cleavage in front of her chest. It was hard to look away. Ling Han turned his head and averted his gaze. He hid the strange look in his eyes and nodded slightly. His slender fingers picked up the wine glass. She understood and clinked the glasses in her hands, making a crisp sound that was instantly drowned out by the noise of the secular world. The night was long. Good night to those close to you, and secrets to strangers. After drinking a glass of wine, Yi Huanyan opened her mouth first. Her voice was hoarse, like that of a light rock singer as she spoke tirelessly. I have a friend who used to like a man. She liked him wholeheartedly for many years. Because of the conflict between the two of them, they couldn't be together. In other words, even if they were together, they would torture each other. Ling Han laughed. Romeo and Juliet. Her eyes flashed with a trace of melancholy. Romeo and Juliet were born from death. Even if it was a tragedy, it was an ending of love. It was just a conflict between the families. The man my friend liked took his anger out on her, because of the conflict between the families. Ling Han lowered his head and drank a mouthful of wine. His expression was hidden under the light, and couldn't be seen clearly. After 3 rounds of drinking, the story was intermittent, without beginning or end. It seemed to be true, but also seemed to be false. Ling Han's eyes were drunk. Your friend is too stupid. She should have left as soon as possible when she met this kind of man. Yi Huanyan was also a little drunk. She leaned against the bar and looked at the man in front of her. In this world, feelings could be said to be clear, but fate was hard to explain. Across the sea, across the monsoon, on the day of her birthday party, she met the person she had missed for 5 years but didn't dare to contact. She wanted to ask him directly, "Have you looked for me all these years? Have you thought of me?" But with her face now she couldn't ask. What about you? What's on your mind? Ling Han was drunk on the bar. His eyes were painful. he said vaguely. Do you know what day it is today? Today. Yi Huanyan rested half of her face on her hand and blushed. It's my birthday. Ling Han's deep voice penetrated the noise. I have a friend who has the same birthday as you. She looked at him, and the corner of her mouth pulled up in an unnatural arc. Really? Today is her birthday. It's also the anniversary of her death. Yi Huanyan's fingers holding the wine glass trembled slightly. The wine in the glass spilled on the bar. Looking at his mouth and listening to his voice, it felt like a lifetime had passed. I miss her very much. Chapter 317. Ling Han was drunk and muddle-headed. He had never been a good drinker. Even though he often drank at home for the past 5 years, he still couldn't hold his liquor well. He only drank until he was half drunk. Only then could he sober up and realize reality. But he could also see some illusions that didn't belong to reality. It was as if he was punishing himself. He didn't let himself forget the pain of reality. But he could see the person he wanted to see. In the hotel room, the strong smell of alcohol, the blurry figure, the graceful figure, and the coquettish moans converged into a charming picture that aroused all of his senses. Ling Han only felt that he had a long and wonderful dream. And in the dream, he regained warmth. Yin Yan, he called her name. The woman under him responded softly, her hands leaving scratches on his back. A night of love. When he woke up, there seemed to be a lingering scent in the room, but there was no one beside him. The wrinkled bedsheets, the clothes scattered on the floor, and the lipstick marks on the white bedsheets told him that this was not a dream. Ling Han sat on the bed, and no matter how hard he tried, he could not remember how he had come back last night. He drank too much. A frantic knock on the door brought him back to reality. Daniel's howling could be heard through the door in the corridor. If you don't get up now, we won't be able to catch the ferry, and the plane will be late too. At the Florida State Pier, on the second floor of a private luxury cruise ship, an exquisite breakfast was laid out. Yi Huanyan arrived on the ship early, had breakfast, and sunbathed on the deck. At 9 o'clock, the Gu family boarded the ship on time. Gu Xinian was riding on the shoulders of the fearless young master Naaneo. When he saw Yi Huanyan, he climbed down from Gu Xinian's body on all fours, and was about to run to the deck when Gu Xinian stopped him. Be careful. Yi Huanyan seemed to be in a good mood, and there was a smile on her face. Did you see each other last night? Did you clear up the misunderstanding? Gu Xinian asked. Yi Huanyan lowered her head and smiled. Nothing much. Naaneo, who was in her arms, blinked his large eyes and chuckled. Mommy is shy. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. Why do you say that? What did Uncle say to you? Uncle said that Mommy went to see Daddy last night. Naaneo smiled mischievously as if he knew everything. Yi Huanyan was a little speechless. She looked at Gu Xinian. Brother, why do you tell him everything? Gu Xinian spread his hands. If I didn't tell him, he would have asked the butler to take him to the bar to look for you. I'm afraid you wouldn't have been so successful then. Mommy, am I going to see Daddy soon? Naaneo tugged at Yi Huanyan's sleeve. Yi Huanyan looked at Gu Xinian hesitantly. Don't look at me. It's your own business if you want to confess your identity to him. It's also your own business when you want to bring Naaneo to see him. I don't want to see Daddy. Naaneo suddenly interrupted. The Gu family's education had always been fair, and just since young, they never hid anything from the children. Even though Naaneo was only 5 years old, he was already much more knowledgeable than other children his age. I've never seen Daddy, and he hasn't looked for us. Mommy has always been busy with the surgery, and it's been hard on her. But she hasn't seen Daddy. That's why I don't want to see him. Yi Huanyan patted Naaneo's shoulder. You really don't want to see him? No, I've never had a daddy anyway. His duplicitous look was exactly the same as a certain someone. Yi Huanyan asked, when there's a parent-child activity in kindergarten, is it okay without Daddy accompanying you? I have an uncle. Uncle isn't Daddy. Hearing this, Naaneo pursed his lips and thought seriously for a while. Then I'll call Uncle Daddy from now on. In 5 years, this was probably the first time Naaneo heard Gu Xinian mention his daddy. It was inevitable that he found it difficult to accept that this person still existed. However, he hadn't appeared in 5 years, so it was normal for him to feel awkward now. Yi Huanyan didn't force him to accept it so quickly. Besides, her future with Ling Han was still a little uncertain. She couldn't be sure if she was starting a new relationship with him with her current face and identity, or if she was starting a new relationship with him. Gu Xinian leaned against the railing on the deck and looked at the people coming from the beach. There was a hint of mischief in his eyes. Naaneo, there's a new transformer downstairs for you. It's as tall as a person. Do you want to see it? Yes. After saying that, Naaneo broke free from Yi Huanyan's embrace and grabbed Gu Xinian's hand and rushed down to the second floor. Yi Huanyan felt the sea breeze and took a deep breath. She felt that the road ahead was still very long. On the first floor of the cruise ship, the Gu family's caretaker was negotiating with the stranded people on the shore. I'm sorry, sir. Our ship is a private cruise ship. We won't take anyone with us. We can pay however much it is. This isn't a matter of money. We really have to get ready to leave. The caretaker tried to explain to a blue-eyed foreigner. Behind him, the young master's voice sounded. Jack, let them come up. We'll give them a ride. When he heard this voice, Ling Han was slightly stunned. He looked up and saw Gu Xinian standing behind the railing at the cabin door, looking at him with interest. After boarding the ship, Daniel naturally ran to admire this beautiful private cruise ship of the Gu family and look for the famous second miss of the Gu family at the same time. However, Ling Han had no choice but to meet with Gu Xinian again. President Ling, it's been a long time. How could someone as punctual as you miss the ferry? Gu Xinian's tone had a hint of sarcasm. Even though Ling Han had a reason in his heart, it was difficult for him to say it out loud at this moment. He could only reveal an unnatural and polite smile. I had something to do, so I missed the ferry. I have to wait for another 2 hours for the next ferry, so I'll have to trouble you. He couldn't possibly say that he missed the ferry because he had sex with his younger sister last night and couldn't wake up in the morning, right? He didn't know if Gu Xinian's family was that open-minded, but he wasn't the kind of person who would casually discuss such things in public. Moreover, he did have doubts in his heart. Was the second miss of the Gu family on the ship? You haven't eaten breakfast yet, right? Let's eat together. Gu Xinian led Ling Han into the cabin. The cruise ship had 3 floors, and they entered the first floor directly into the dining room. In the dining room, there was a long Western-style table covered with a clean beige tablecloth. All sorts of exquisite snacks were placed on the table. An elderly man sat around the table. He looked weathered, but he still looked dignified. The woman beside him maintained her appearance well. Even though she was old, she still had an outstanding aura. When he saw him, the man glanced at Gu Xinian indifferently. This is Ling Han, the CEO of Lanjiang City's pleasure group. The man's eyes suddenly shone with a sharp light, and he inexplicably became a little more serious. Only then did he take a proper look at Ling Han, and thoughtfully repeated his words again. Ling Han. The woman beside him frowned the moment she heard the name. She threw away the knife and fork in her hand with a clang and said rudely, Why did you bring just anyone onto the ship? What's wrong with you, Nian Nian? These words were very unpleasant to hear. Ling Han's expression darkened. Chapter 318. Amidst the tense atmosphere, the man at the dining table said calmly, Winnie, go check on Naaneo. He's making a ruckus on the deck. Don't cause any trouble. The woman's expression darkened. She left the dining table unwillingly. Before she left, she glared fiercely at Ling Han and walked towards the deck with her head held high. After the woman left, the man had no intention of explaining anything. He only left a short sentence. Mr. Ling, please help yourself. Ling Han frowned. This family's attitude towards people and matters was a little strange. My parents have always been cold to outsiders. Please don't mind them. Before he could think further, Gu Xinian pointed at the dining table next to him. I still have something to do. You can sit over there and eat. Ling Han nodded. It's okay. I'm going out for a walk. The cruise ship had already set off and was sailing smoothly on the sea. Ling Han walked out of the cabin door and circled the cruise ship. The Gu family's children were making a ruckus on the deck. It was very noisy, So he decided to go up to the second floor. The second floor was spacious, and there didn't seem to be anyone in the cabin. He walked along the corridor between the rooms to the second floor. Standing at the cabin door, he saw a familiar figure on the deck. Second Miss Gu, whom he had a drunken night with, was lying on the deck in a burgundy bikini, with a black veil draped over her. She was bathing in the sun. Hearing the sound behind her, she turned around to look at him. She was like a stranger. He couldn't see her expression through her huge sunglasses. He only felt that she seemed to have nodded as a greeting, before lying down on the deck again. Ling Han only felt that his heart, which had been in his throat, didn't know whether to go up or down. After hesitating for a while, he stepped out of the cabin door and walked to the deck. He sat down next to second Miss Gu. Last night. You also think that the sun is pretty good today, right? Yi Huanyan interrupted him. He hesitated for a few seconds and nodded slightly. Yeah, I'm going to sleep for a while. Don't disturb me. After saying this, she fell silent. Ling Han lowered his head and looked at the woman beside him. The huge sunglasses almost covered 2/3 of her face, but it still couldn't stop her from being flirtatious. Thinking of the exciting yet familiar feeling from last night, Ling Han didn't know why, but he felt like he saw the shadow of another person in second Miss Gu. This thought flashed through his mind, and he laughed at himself. Impossible, they were clearly two completely different kinds of people. As the sea breeze blew past, the black veil fluttered in the wind and finally fell to the side of her body, revealing her graceful curves. This beautiful scene could easily make one's heart flutter. Ling Han watched in a daze. She suddenly got up and hooked her arms around his neck. She found his lips and passionately kissed him. His rationality made him want to push this crazy woman away, but his body couldn't help but hug her back, turning the originally light kiss into a deep and lingering kiss. On the deck, the sun was shining brightly, and the sea breeze was gentle. The hasty kiss caused their breaths to become chaotic. A voice came from the cabin, and the two of them paused. Who is it? Yi Huanyan asked. Daniel, my partner. Ling Han frowned, his mind in a mess. Before he could react, the woman had already pulled him into a bedroom in the cabin and locked the door. The flirtatious atmosphere that had dissipated was stirred up again the moment the door was locked. She pressed him against the door and hooked her arms around his neck. She rubbed her cheeks against his neck and planted kisses on his shoulders. With a smack, Ling Han looked up and panted. What are you doing? She bit his shirt collar and reached for his belt with one hand. Her voice was husky and charming. Can't you tell? Before Ling Han could say anything, he was sealed by her soft and hot lips. There was a sweet fragrance in her mouth, and there was temptation in her eyes, making him unable to refuse. The burgundy bikini couldn't hide her graceful figure, and it made her even more seductive. Her heavy breathing made her breasts rise and fall, making it hard for people to look away. Ling Han's eyes trembled. The next second, he wrapped his arms around her waist and pressed her down on the sofa, rubbing her wantonly. Outside the window, the waves were surging, and the hull was shaking slightly, as if they were reliving the dizzy old dream from last night. Who could tell if they were awake? Who could tell if what they were seeing was reality and not a dream? They made love crazily, felt the temperature of each other's bodies crazily, and went deep into each other crazily. The emotions they vented seemed to be two completely different extremes. Ling Han tried to use such passion to make himself forget the person who had disappeared 5 years ago, while Yi Huanyan tried to use a new identity to make him remember. But whether it was to let go of a person who was deeply rooted in his heart, or to remember De-in, whose appearance and temperament had changed, it was an endless wait. After the meal, Ling Han sat on the sofa and smoked. His expression couldn't be seen clearly in the spiraling smoke. Tell me, what's your purpose? He didn't believe that there were such coincidences in this world. She had chosen him at the ball, bumped into him at the bar that night, and had a one-night stand. Now she was in such a state. He was a little confused. Yi Huanyan grabbed the bedsheet to cover her breasts and sat up on the bed. Do you always ask women what their purpose is when you sleep with them? Ling Han's face stiffened. Do you think there's something on you that I like? Is it worth me making such a big sacrifice? Yi Huanyan's tone was a little aggressive, and the corner of her mouth raised into a sarcastic arc. It's just a physiological need for a man and a woman to have sex. Purpose? Mr. Ling, you think too highly of me. After saying this, Yi Huanyan got up and walked to the bathroom with the bedsheet wrapped around her. I don't think I've ever told you that my surname is Ling. A cold voice sounded behind her. Yi Huanyan's fingers, which were holding the bathroom door, stiffened slightly. After standing for a few seconds, she laughed coldly. This is Florida, not China. We're in the Gu family's territory. Is there a problem with knowing the name of the man who slept with me and what he does? Ling Han looked at the figure at the bathroom door. She was wrapped in a white bedsheet, and her long chestnut brown hair was casually draped over her shoulders. The seductive appearance on the bed just now had disappeared. At this moment, she had become a cold statue, unapproachable. The second miss of the Gu family was naturally not the kind of person who would sleep with a man casually. The Gu family was a big family, and even if it was to satisfy their physiological needs, as she said, they should select a group of elites who wouldn't threaten the Gu family's reputation. It was just a romantic encounter in the plan. Now it seemed that he was the one who thought too much. No, Mr. Ling, I'm going to rest. He stood up, adjusted the buttons of his suit, and walked towards the door. Yi Huanyan sighed in relief. He suddenly stopped opening the door and asked hesitantly, Miss Gu seems to have just appeared in public a few years ago. I don't think I've heard of the Gu family having a daughter before. Chapter 319. The air froze for a few seconds before her calm voice rang out in the room. Mr. Ling, what's your motive for asking about my family? You can't be here to propose marriage, right? Ling Han furrowed his brows. After a while he said in a deep voice, I'm married. What a coincidence. So am I. Yi Huanyan's lips curled up. Her smile was exceptionally enchanting, as though she wasn't talking about morality at all. Or rather, she didn't care about morality at all. The atmosphere suddenly became a little strange. Close the door when you leave. I want to take a shower. With that, Yi Huanyan took the lead and entered the bathroom. Bada! A sound came from the bathroom door, causing the whole bedroom to tremble a few times. Ling Han snapped back to his senses and turned around to leave. After that, the two of them didn't see each other alone until they reached the port. Before getting off the boat, Ling Han vaguely saw her figure among the crowd of Gu family members. It was as though he could smell her unique sweet scent through the crowd. When he got off the boat, he was distracted. If it weren't for Daniel's quick reflexes, he would have fallen into the sea. Yi Huanyan had already followed her parents and brother into the extended Bentley parked at the port. When she heard the sound in the distance, she couldn't help but turn around to look out the window. What's wrong? Do you want to get off? Gu Xinyan's voice came from beside her. Before Yi Huanyan could speak, Wen Yi's unhappy voice rang out in the car. Get off what? Ninian, what's wrong with you today? Not only did you bring that Ling Han onto the boat, but you even urged Yin Yin to get off the car to look for him. Have you forgotten how Ling Han treated Yin Yin previously? As she spoke, Wen Yi held Yi Huanyan's hand and said indignantly, Yin Yin, you don't need this kind of person. With us around in the future, no one will dare to bully you. Who bullied Mommy? Naaneo, who was sitting in the child seat opposite her, looked up from the game console and blinked at his grandmother. Grandma, who did you say bullied Mommy? Who else could it be? It's you. Ahem. A cough interrupted Wen Yi's words. Yi Huanyan raised her head and looked at Naaneo's side. Gu Ming was currently frowning, and there was obvious displeasure in the depths of his eyes. This displeasure was naturally directed at Ling Han, but he still spoke up in time to stop Wen Yi's complaints. Children shouldn't know too much about the grudges of adults. When he knew that she had misspoken, she took a deep breath and explained, No one bullied Mommy. If anyone did, Grandma and Grandma would be the first to settle the score with him. Gu Xinyan's voice sounded in the car. Drive James. 5 years ago, when Gu Xinyan had just brought Yi Huanyan back, the Gu family had fallen into a haze. When he was such a gentle and kind person. She had cried and slapped Gu Xinyan, questioning him why he hadn't brought Yi Huanyan back earlier. and allowed her to suffer so much by Ling Han's side. The news in the country had originally been suppressed by Gu Xinian, and this was also Yi Huanyan's idea. However, when she saw that her daughter was burned to the point of no return, not only Wen Yi, but even the usually calm Gu Heng was enraged. That year, Pleasure's stock had plummeted. Its subsidiaries had all closed down, and the entire company had almost been restructured. If Yi Huanyan had not pleaded for mercy before she was pushed into the operating room due to dystocia, the Gu family had originally planned to suppress Pleasure until the stock market crashed, and the company completely closed down within half a year. The more guilty her parents felt towards her, the more disgusted they felt towards Ling Han. A private jet was parked on the tarmac of the Gu family. After the Gu family had all boarded the jet, it flew directly to the Four Seasons villa. That was Yi Huanyan's real home. It was the first time in 5 years that she had set foot there. At the Los Angeles airport, the boarding announcement was broadcasted. The passengers in the cabin were gradually seated. Daniel was going back to China with Ling Han to discuss the development of the company's holiday resort chain, so they were on the same flight to China. After sitting down, Ling Han looked out of the window with an uneasy look on his face. "Are you still thinking about the second daughter of the Gu family?" Daniel joked. Ling Han's face darkened a little, and he did not say a word. Daniel continued, "I heard that the second daughter of the Gu family was just found 5 years ago. She had been missing for more than 20 years, so no one had heard of her before. As soon as she was found, the Gu family treated her like the apple of their eye. All the properties in the state of Florida are under her name, including the bar we drank at last night." Ling Han leaned back in his chair and said casually, "Is that so? Then she's quite doted on. No wonder she always treated him with such arrogance and disdain. She had the right to do so. What's her name?" He suddenly remembered that he still did not know her name, so he asked casually. Daniel's eyes lit up. "You're finally asking me about her. It's rare that you're interested in something." Ling Han's eyes were cold. He pressed the button to adjust the seat beside him. "Call me when we arrive. I'm going to sleep for a while." "Hey, are you still listening? Her name is Gu Huanyan. She grew up in China and was just brought back by Gu Xinian 5 years ago. She should be in her 30s now, but her looks and temperament are undeniable." When he heard the words Gu Huanyan, Ling Han suddenly let go of his hand and looked at Daniel with a stiff expression. "What did you say her name was?" "Gu Huanyan. How could there be such a coincidence?" Ling Han felt like his brain was about to explode. 6 years ago, Gu Xinian suddenly appeared by Yi Huanyan's side. 5 years ago, Yi Huanyan had an accident on the mountain road, and her body was nowhere to be found. Gu Xinian, who was so protective of her, also disappeared without a trace. He did not even ask him a single question about Yi Huanyan's accident. 5 years ago, the second daughter of the Gu family, Gu Huanyan Gu Xinian, last night in the bar, the words Gu Huanyan had told him, the story about her friend. It was as if there was a string that was connected. "Hey, Ling Han, where are you going?" Daniel exclaimed and watched as Ling Han suddenly got up and rushed out of the cabin before the stewardess closed the door. "Sir." "Hey." Ling Han did not know if what he was thinking was the truth, but he knew that there was a glimmer of hope. For this glimmer of hope, he could not leave. Gu Huanyan Yi Huanyan. It was clearly a completely different face, but they had the same name. He knew that it was impossible, but his body seemed to be telling him that he had to stay here and find out. He had to find out if she was really her, or if she was related to her. The Four Seasons Villa. The Four Seasons Villa originated from the fact that the flowers of the Four Seasons bloomed at the same time all year round. Naneo often stayed here, so he was very familiar with the villa. The tarmac was on the sea, so to enter the villa, one had to take the waterway and take a boat to the entrance of the villa. Gu Xinian first brought Yi Huanyan to his courtyard to familiarize himself with the environment. Gu Heng left first because she had something to deal with, leaving Wen Yi to hold Yi Huanyan's hand and go with her. West Court is in a good location. It's warm in the winter and cool in the summer, and it's also close to South Court. Wen Yi's voice was filled with joy. Her daughter had been back for more than 5 years, But this was the first time she had entered the house. She was very happy at the thought of living together as a family in the future. Chapter 320. Mommy! A sweet voice intruded, and Yi Huanyan's heart inexplicably tightened. A graceful figure walked down the stairs. She was wearing a beige Chanel suit, and her hair was tied up in a bun. She was in her 30s, but she still looked sweet and well-behaved. Sister is here. For some reason, Yi Huanyan didn't like Gu Duo when they first met. She affectionately called her elder sister, but there was always a layer of bottomless hostility hidden in her eyes. She might have been mistaken in the past, but last night at the ball, she accidentally took off her mask, which made her completely recognize this sister of hers. Yi Huanyan nodded with an indifferent expression. Her response was considered a greeting. Gu Duo smiled and held Wen Yi's arm. Mommy, you must be tired from the trip. Go back and rest first. Brother and I are here, and we will definitely take good care of you. Wen Yi patted Gu Duo's hand, but her eyes subconsciously fell on Gu Xinyan's face. Seeing him nod slightly, she smiled. Okay, then I won't disturb you. Naneo, come with me. Yin Yan, you also rest for a while. In the evening, you all go to Nanyuan for dinner. Consider it a welcome banquet for Yin Yan. Okay. The three of them responded. Wen Yi took Naneo's hand and left the living room. Gu Xinyan took Yi Huanyan's luggage to the master bedroom and looked around. If you need anything, just tell the servant or me. Yi Huanyan nodded. Got it. Gu Duo put her hand on Yi Huanyan's shoulder affectionately and said with a smile. Brother, you are usually too busy. Sister just came back and doesn't know anything. You can just ask me. Gu Xinyan looked indifferent and glanced at Yi Huanyan, as if to ask for her opinion. Yi Huanyan smiled. Brother, you go do your work. I can do it alone. After hearing this, Gu Xinyan left. Gu Duo and Yi Huanyan were the only two people left in Shiyuan. After Gu Xinyan left, Yi Huanyan looked down at the hand on her shoulder. I need to pack my luggage. Gu Duo withdrew her hand and looked at Yi Huanyan awkwardly. Do you need my help? No thanks. Yi Huanyan said coldly. Without looking at her, she pulled her suitcase and walked into the depths of the bedroom. Sister, you can treat this as your own home from now on. You don't have to be polite with me. With that, Gu Duo followed her and reached out to help her carry the luggage. Let me do it. Yi Huanyan withdrew her hand from the suitcase. Okay. Gu Duo was slightly stunned. She gritted her teeth and pulled the suitcase over. Put it in the walk-in closet. Yi Huanyan said concisely, and then stared at her coldly. She had dug a hole for herself, so she couldn't blame anyone. Gu Duo had no choice but to carry the suitcase in. Yi Huanyan's suitcase was 30 inches long. It was almost half the height of Gu Duo. The walk-in closet was 2 steps higher than the bedroom. She struggled for a long time, but still couldn't carry the suitcase in. She held the door frame and gasped for breath, looking like she wanted to cry but had no tears. Yi Huanyan looked indifferent. Linda! Gu Duo shouted the name of the maid angrily. The fat maid quickly appeared in Yi Huanyan's room. Are you dead? Don't you know how to help? Gu Duo stared at the maid angrily. Duo, you wanted to help me carry the suitcase. What does it have to do with her? Hearing this, Gu Duo's face turned pale. She straightened her neck and said, Sister, she is our servant. She should do whatever she wants. While they were talking, the maid had moved the suitcase to the walk-in closet. Gu Duo inevitably rolled her eyes at her. Don't you know what to do? Can't you see that I'm back? Is the room tidied up? Why don't you help me take the suitcase out and put it away? Yi Huanyan frowned and interrupted Gu Duo in a low voice. Get out. I don't need your help. The maid was slightly stunned and looked at Gu Duo subconsciously. Gu Duo waved her hand impatiently. I asked you to get out. Why are you looking at me? If you don't know, you will think that everyone in the family only listens to me. What do you think of me? After that, she looked at Yi Huanyan again. Sister, don't mind her. Linda is just stupid. She doesn't know how to read people's eyes. She doesn't know that you are irreplaceable in Mommy's heart. Is that so? Yi Huanyan's expression was calm, as if she was indifferent. Of course, this house was prepared before you were born. It was specially reserved for you. If you hadn't gone missing back then, and we couldn't find you at home, we wouldn't have brought me here. It's also a little comfort for Mommy. All these years when you weren't here, I haven't moved this house. I've been living in the guest room, just waiting for the day when you might come back. Yi Huanyan was tired after a long journey. She just wanted to have a good rest. She didn't want to waste time with Gu Duo. However, Gu Duo scolded her again and again in front of her. No wonder she didn't give her face. Gu Duo, is it interesting to talk in a roundabout way in front of me? Gu Duo's face turned pale. First of all, I don't have a sister. I only have one brother in the Gu family. Second of all, I don't care how long you have lived here, and whether you have lived in the guest room or the master bedroom. I am not interested to know these. Third of all, when I said that, I was not only talking about Linda, but also you. Yi Huanyan's words were merciless. Gu Duo's face turned red and white. No one had ever scolded her like this in her life. The embarrassment on her face was self-evident. She bit her lip and ran out. The maid stood there and hesitated. Miss Gu, let me help you tidy up your things. Yi Huanyan waved her hand. No need. Go and see what she is doing. If anything happens, go to my brother. Don't come to me. Gu Duo was a daughter of a rich family. She had a bad temper and was good at scheming. Although her words were quite like a declaration of sovereignty, she was right. It was indeed her who had been filial to her parents all these years, not her. Yi Huanyan hated her, not because she tried to replace her, but because she always wanted to insist on things that didn't belong to her. Instead, she ruined some precious feelings. Some of those things that didn't belong to her had crossed the bottom line of some people. She was afraid that she didn't know it. If she continued to do this, Yi Huanyan felt that Gu Duo couldn't stay in the Gu family anymore. She didn't need to do anything. At least Gu Xinian wouldn't sit back and do nothing. Thinking of this, she paused while packing. Thinking of her best friend who was like a sister to her on the other side of the ocean, she couldn't help but sigh. Chapter 321. After dinner, Gu Xinian sent Yi Huanyan back to Shiyuan with Naaneo in his arms. If you feel uncomfortable with Gu Duo living with you, I'll ask my aunt to come and take her home tomorrow. Gu Xinian looked indifferent, as if he was talking about something very normal. During dinner, Gu Duo cried so much that her eyes turned red. She looked very pitiful. When asked what had happened, she didn't say anything. Obviously, she meant that Yi Huanyan had bullied her. Yi Huanyan's mother, Wen-yi, had always been a soft-hearted person. She took Yi Huanyan to the side hall to comfort her, before they even finished their meal. As a result, the meal at the table was in a foul atmosphere, and the atmosphere was extremely strange. Hearing Gu Xinian's words, Yi Huanyan felt more or less comforted. No, there is no conflict between us. You should be able to see that. She just wants to show her existence in front of you. If you drive her away, who knows what will happen? There were always some things that couldn't be explained clearly between Gu Duo and Gu Xinian. Yi Huanyan didn't know much, and Gu Xinian didn't talk to her in depth. No matter what she thought, there was a hurdle that couldn't be crossed. Gu Duo and Gu Xinian were cousins. No matter what had happened in the past, they couldn't have a future. Gu Duo had lived in the Gu family for 32 years. Yi Huanyan's aunt's family had always been dissatisfied with the fact that she had never married. They always felt that their daughter was not welcome in the Gu family. They didn't even care about her marriage. Especially after Yi Huanyan came back, the relationship between the two families became worse. Gu Duo's biological parents had mentioned several times that they wanted to take their daughter back. It was just that Gu Duo refused to leave. While they were talking, Gu Xinian had already carried Naaneo to his room. After placing him on the child's bed and covering him with a blanket, the two of them walked out of the bedroom. 5 years ago she should have left. Gu Xinian's tone was a little cold. Yi Huanyan suddenly sympathized with Gu Duo. 5 years ago, when Gu Xinian came back, it was to deal with Gu Duo's marriage. Her marriage was arranged by Yi Huanyan's aunt. Her family background was good, and she was Gu Duo's college classmate. The two of them fell in love freely. When they reached the age of marriage, it was normal to prepare for marriage. However, There was a problem on the wedding day. Gu Duo refused to get married no matter what. She insisted on waiting for Gu Xinian to come back, so the marriage was not consummated. Thinking about this, Yi Huanyan couldn't help but sigh. Gu Xinian frowned, patted her head and said softly, "You're still young. Don't sigh all the time." "I'm still young. I'm already 32. Yi Huanyan was a little helpless. Gu Xinian smiled. "I'm 10 years older than you. In the eyes of Mom, Dad, and I, you'll always be a child." The two of them sat in the living room and chatted. Neither of them noticed a figure trembling slightly in the guest bedroom on the second floor. Her eyes were full of hatred as she stared in Yi Huanyan's direction. "How's the research for the script coming along? Do you want to go to the casting in person this time?" Gu Xinian asked. At the mention of the script, Yi Huanyan took a deep breath. "I haven't thought about it yet. Let me think about it again." Hearing this, Gu Xinian stopped asking and changed the topic. "I heard from Gu Lu that the singer for the theme song for Yu Sheng has been decided?" Yi Huanyan nodded. "Zhu Nianhua?" "Yeah." Seeing that Gu Xinian was deep in thought, Yi Huanyan hurriedly explained, "It's not what you think. I just think that it's more suitable for him to sing. Also, I think that if he's willing, I want him to try out for the male lead in this film. Why don't you just say that this film is a gift from you to him?" Gu Xinian said in all seriousness, "The second daughter of the Gu family is more than enough to match a singer like him. As long as you say the word, I don't think anyone in the Lu family would dare to object to this marriage." Hearing that his words were getting more and more ridiculous, Yi Huanyan became anxious. "Brother, what are you saying? He's already married. I heard that his child is about the same age as Naaneo. As long as you want, I can get him a divorce immediately. Are you done yet?" Yi Huanyan glared at Gu Xinian angrily and said without thinking, "I already said that we're just friends. If you have the time to care about me, why don't you think about how to explain your situation to Xiaoyu if I really come back to the country?" Gu Xinian's smile froze at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes gradually dimmed. Seeing this, Yi Huanyan was stunned. "Brother, it's getting late. You should get some rest. I'm going back too." "Okay." Looking at Gu Xinian's back, Yi Huanyan let out a long sigh. He obviously couldn't let go. So how could he bear not seeing her for 5 years? In the guest room on the second floor, the door slowly closed with a click sound and disappeared into the air. Behind the door, Gu Duo's face was livid. She repeatedly said a name in her heart, Xiaoyu. Late at night, Yi Huanyan was in the room sorting out the script. A thick stack of "The Rest of My Life with You" was on the left side of the desk. It was the final draft after repeated revisions. The script hadn't started shooting yet, and she didn't plan to sell it this time. Just like Gu Xinian said, with her current face, she could openly return to the country and choose the person she liked to play the lead role. She could also shoot the movie she wanted. In the small bungalow in the East Park, which was opposite the West Park, Gu Xinian sat on the sofa on the balcony. The glass ashtray on the coffee table was full of cigarette butts, and there was still smoke rising from between his fingers. Gu Lu's voice sounded on the phone. "Young master, Ling Han wants to see you." "What's the purpose?" "He said that he wants to visit the Four Seasons Villa. He wants to ask you about 2nd Mississippi. Maybe he knows something." "Where is he now?" "He's still in Los Angeles. Without our plane to pick him up, he can't come." "Let him wait." After hanging up the phone, a look of impatience flashed across Gu Xinian's eyes. He got up and stubbed out the cigarette in his hand. The next day, Yi Huanyan was sorting out the script in the study when Naaneo strolled in with a tablet and sat down on the sofa. "Mommy, Uncle said that we're going on a trip, right? Uncle told you that." Yi Huanyan turned to look at him. "Where did Uncle say we were going?" "We're going to Lawn River. That's where Mommy grew up." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan rubbed his nose. "I haven't decided if I want to go, so what Uncle said isn't very accurate." As soon as he finished speaking, Naaneo jumped off the sofa and tugged on Yi Huanyan's sleeve. Come on. Naaneo wants to go. There's nothing fun there. Why do you want to go?" "Who said there's nothing? Naaneo just wants to go and take a look at the place where Mommy grew up. Also, I want to write about China for the kindergarten trip this year." Naaneo pouted and refused to give up. Yi Huanyan had no choice but to pick him up from the ground and put him on her lap. Isn't Uncle taking you to Finland? Don't you want to go? Hearing this, Naaneo looked even more furious. He widened his eyes and said, But Dennis is going to Finland too. I'm not going to the same thing as him. I want to go to China. Chapter 322. At Longjiang City International Airport, the flight from Los Angeles landed smoothly. Amidst the gentle and sweet voice of the air stewardess, the adorable little boy nudged his mother beside him. Mommy, the plane has landed. Wake up. Yi Huanyan mumbled and turned over to face the window. Don't be so noisy. Naaneo, go play with your uncle. Let mommy sleep for a while more. Naaneo held his forehead and sighed. Mommy, if you don't wake up, I'm leaving. I won't care about you anymore. A certain someone was indifferent. If it weren't for the fact that this was a foreign country to Naaneo, he really would have left her alone and gotten off the plane. Seeing that almost all the passengers had left, Naaneo had no choice but to use his trump card. He put down his tablet and tiptoed over to Yi Huanyan. He pulled open the shade and then yanked off the blindfold on Yi Huanyan's face. He shouted, Fire! Mommy is on fire. A strong light shone on her eyes. Yi Huanyan instinctively raised her hand to block her eyes. Suddenly, she heard her son scream. She was so scared that her heart skipped a beat. Naaneo, run. After saying this, she stood up from her seat. However, she saw that the air stewardesses and stewardesses were standing in a circle in the cabin corridor. They were covering their mouths and laughing secretly. The culprit was already carrying his little ladybug backpack and holding a tablet in his hand. He was looking at her sympathetically. That gaze made Yi Huanyan want to find a hole and hide in it. She laughed embarrassedly, holding her son's hand. She was ready to escape from this place where she was being ridiculed. Miss, your bag. The air stewardess's voice came from behind. After leaving the airport, Naaneo sat on the luggage and was pushed by Yi Huanyan. As they walked, she scolded him. What do you mean by caught fire? It's so embarrassing. Can't you save some face for your mommy? Naaneo lay on the luggage and blinked his big eyes. Uncle said that if mommy didn't wake up when the plane landed, he would say that there was a fire, and you would definitely wake up. This Gusinian. Yi Huanyan gritted her teeth as she looked at her son. What was the point of teaming up with her nephew to harm her sister? When they exited the airport, a tall man in a suit came to pick up Yi Huanyan. When he saw Yi Huanyan, he waved his hand and walked up to her. Second miss, is it? Yi Huanyan nodded. The man smiled brightly and stretched out his hand to Yi Huanyan. I'm Gucci, young master arranged for me to pick you and little master up. The silver Maybach sped along the airport highway. Gucci gave a brief introduction to Yi Huanyan's studio and the accommodation that Gusinian had arranged for her. Yi Huanyan's script studio had been officially registered in Longjiang City 4 years ago and was operating legally. In recent years, Yi Huanyan's scripts had been sold by the studio. The price of the scripts had increased year by year, but Yi Huanyan was not satisfied with the casting. Gusinian was a person who planned for the long term. When Yi Huanyan finished writing her first script 4 years ago, he seemed to have predicted that one day, Yi Huanyan would personally participate in the post-production process of the entire script. Hence, he even sent a professional to take care of this small studio in Longjiang City. Young master said that second miss is not used to being served by servants, so he arranged for you to live in the apartment above the studio. Second miss, if you find it inconvenient, please let me know. We can adjust. You don't have to call me second miss. Yi Huanyan smiled faintly. Just call me Gu Huanyan. Gucci nodded. Okay, President Gu? Seeing Yi Huanyan's strange expression, Gucci hesitated and changed his words. Editor Gu. Forget it, just call me whatever you want. Yi Huanyan felt a little helpless. The 3 siblings, Guqi, Gu Lu and Gu Min, were Gu Xinyan's assistants. It was said that they had been working with him for more than 10 years. The 3 of them had extraordinary backgrounds. Yi Huanyan could not tell what was so special about them. She just felt that the 2 of them were very stupid. The studio was located in the business district of the Eastern District of Longjiang City, not far from the central business district. The 20-story office building was within the studio's scope. When they registered 4 years ago, they used the name Gu Sinian came up with. Haiyan Media was under the name of the Gu Corporation. It was easy to lean against a big tree and enjoy the shade. In just 4 years, they had become very skilled in business development. 4 years ago, after Yi Huanyan's script became a hit, Gu Sinian quickly established Haiyan Media. Under Yi Huanyan's name, he signed contracts with countless scriptwriters and writers. He developed the studio, which originally only occupied 1 floor of this office building, into the current Haiyan Media building. After getting out of the car, Yi Huanyan felt a little dizzy when she saw the 3 words Haiyan Media, written in bold calligraphy on the floor. Before she came, Gu Sinian said that he would give her a surprise. She did not expect that this surprise would be so big. In her impression, Haiyan Media was just a small studio that occupied a small corner of the office building. This surprise was too big. Gu Qi respectfully invited her in. The office building was elegant, simple and bright. It was not as dazzling as other studios. When the receptionist saw Gu Qi, she quickly greeted him. Director Gu. Gu Qi's expression was serious. He introduced Yi Huanyan, who was beside him. This is Director Gu and her son. The receptionist stared at Yi Huanyan with wide eyes. She looked surprised. Director Gu is so young and so beautiful. It was always good to be praised. Yi Huanyan was a little embarrassed. She nodded at her and followed Gu Qi upstairs. Her office was very cozy. The colors were bright but not jumbled. After a quick glance, Naaneo said that he was sleepy and wanted to take a nap. She hurriedly took him upstairs to rest. The apartment Gu Sinian arranged for her was on the 20th floor of Haiyan Media. After getting off the elevator, she would reach the entrance. She needed to go through another door. The entire 20th floor was connected into one. It was divided into 5 rooms, 2 living rooms, 1 kitchen and 1 bathroom. Each room had its own bathroom. The balconies of the master bedroom and the secondary bedroom were connected. There was a lawn outside with sofas and coffee tables. As soon as he entered the door, Naaneo shouted, "Wow, long live uncle!" Then he skipped to open each door to check. Yi Huanyan was afraid that he would fall. She frowned and shouted, "Is this how you look like when you're sleepy? Naaneo, be careful." Gu Qi respectfully explained the daily problems. Young master said that you don't like to have a nanny around, so the cleaning lady will come here to clean the house when you're working. Also, I contacted little master about going to the nursery. It's not winter break yet, so there aren't any children around little master's age. So I contacted a private bilingual kindergarten to let little master go there for a while. Is that okay? Yi Huanyan nodded. Just do as my brother says. You don't have to tell me. Gu Sinian had always been meticulous. She didn't need to worry too much. Also, in the afternoon, the CEOs of Leeson Media and Pleasure Group will be coming in person. They want to meet with you to discuss the co-investment of remaining life. Chapter 323. In the CEO's office of the Pleasure Group, Xiao Dong walked into the office with a stack of documents for the afternoon meeting. President Ling, this is the contract to be discussed in the afternoon. Haiyan Media just called and said that their boss has just landed, so the meeting will be at dinner time. They hope that you and Sun Yanhua will be there together. Okay, got it. In the past few years, Sun Yanhua had been engrossed in music, and because of his sudden marriage 5 years ago, he had lost a lot of fans. He had a straightforward temper and offended many people in the way he conducted himself, so his popularity was not as good as before. He did not expect that Haiyan Media would ask him to sing the theme song for this movie. After Secretary Dong reported everything, she looked at Ling Han seriously. She felt that her boss seemed to be a little tired after coming back from Los Angeles. She could not help but ask, "President Ling, why did you stay in Los Angeles for a week to attend the media reception this time? Did something happen?" Thinking of what happened in Los Angeles, Ling Han frowned. Nothing. With a click, Secretary Dong left. The door of the office was closed, leaving behind a quiet and lonely room. After waiting for a week in Los Angeles, He finally got a response from Gu Xinian. He did get his wish, and went to the famous Four Seasons villa. But he did not see Gu Huanyan. Instead, he saw a room full of photos of her when she was young. She was not Yi Huanyan. It was originally a ridiculous idea that came to his mind because of the same name, and the strange coincidence within 2 days. However, when he saw the wall full of photos in the master bedroom in the west court of the Four Seasons villa, this idea turned into ashes. 7:30 p.m., East Bridge Private Club. After Ling Han followed the waiter into the private room, he immediately saw the president of Lisan Media, Wang Libo. He was in a suit, and when he heard someone coming in, he immediately stood up and put on a courteous look. Seeing that it was Ling Han, his face darkened a little. His eyes fell on Su Nianhua behind Ling Han. "President Ling, it's okay for you to come here. But you even brought a male artist from the company. Are you planning to use a handsome man to trick me?" Su Nianhua frowned, showing a somewhat unhappy expression. But he couldn't do anything because of Ling Han. Ling Han was indifferent. He glanced at Wang Libo coldly. "We also welcome President Wang to bring his company's artists here." Wang Libo sneered. "My company's artists aren't as good as Mr. Pleasure." Lisan Media and Pleasure Media had always been at loggerheads. The most troublesome thing was that no matter what movie Pleasure was preparing, Lisan would definitely produce a movie with the same theme, the same style, and even the actors in the cast looked 70% similar to Pleasure's movie. The cost of counterfeiting was so low that even if Pleasure won a few lawsuits, Lisan would still have to pay for it. In fact, it was not a loss at all but a profit. After the waiter pulled out the chairs, Ling Han and Su Nianhua sat down and ordered tea. Ling Han and Su Nianhua rarely saw each other these years. The original 5-year contract they signed was about to expire. The two tacitly agreed to go their separate ways. Suddenly, the singing of the movie's theme song pulled these two people who hadn't seen each other for 5 years together. Naturally, they didn't say anything to each other. From the beginning to the end, they just exchanged a few words of courtesy. The matter between Ling Han and Wang Libo was beyond Su Nianhua's control, and he was too lazy to get involved. Not long after he sat down, he got up and said that he had to go to the bathroom, leaving this place. As soon as he left the room, he took out a cigarette from his pocket. Just as he was about to light it, his phone suddenly rang. When he saw the caller ID, his eyes were filled with gentleness. He pressed the answer button. "Xiaoro, what's up?" A gentle female voice came from the other end of the phone. "Come back early tonight. I have something to tell you." Okay. Don't smoke. It's bad for your throat. Aren't you going to sing the movie's theme song? Get ready." Hearing this, Su Nianhua glanced at the cigarette between his fingers and took a deep breath. "Got it. Is Jingjing obedient today?" "It's still the same. I'll let her tell you herself when you come back." "Are you bullying your classmates again?" Just as they were talking, Su Nianhua changed his position. When he turned around, he suddenly bumped into a figure, causing the other party to cry out in surprise. A fragrant wind blew past. He hurriedly helped the person up and apologized. "Sorry, are you okay?" The woman looked up. Her eyes were like water, and her facial features were so exquisite that she didn't look like a mortal. When she looked at him, a trace of surprise flashed in her eyes. She immediately steadied herself and smiled. "I'm fine." Su Nianhua was stunned. "Have we met before?" Although the trace of surprise disappeared in a flash, he clearly felt the surprise when the person in front of him saw him. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's heart tightened, but her expression didn't change. "Who doesn't know Su Nianhua? I used to listen to your songs." Su Nianhua was stunned. His smile was a little unnatural, as if he was talking to himself. "It's a song from a few years ago. There's still someone who listens to it." Yi Huanyan hesitated for a few seconds. She squatted down to hide the melancholy in her eyes. She picked up the phone on the ground and handed it to him. "Your phone." "Thank you." When they brushed past each other, Su Nianhua looked at the figure and suddenly felt an inexplicable sense of familiarity. However, he couldn't tell where he had seen this person before. She was very beautiful. She was definitely a beauty that was unforgettable. If he had seen her somewhere before, how could he not remember? A hurried inquiry came from the phone, pulling Su Nianhua back to reality. Honey, what's wrong? What happened? Nothing. I accidentally bumped into someone just now. Are you okay? I'm fine. Su Nianhua raised his wrist and glanced at it. Xiaoro, I'll talk to you later. I have to go eat. An obedient and gentle voice came from the other end of the phone. And okay. 5 years ago, he met Zheng Ro in Shanghai. After dating for half a year, he didn't think much of it, and got married naturally. After marriage he had a well-behaved girl, Jingjing, who was 4.5 years old this year. It could be said that he had a happy family. However, he still felt hurt when he thought of someone. He felt that his current happiness couldn't be accepted with peace of mind. She should have been happy. In the private room, the waiter opened the door. Yi Huanyan was wearing a black Hepburn dress with a gray checkered shawl draped over her arms. She looked mature. Her chestnut brown hair was combed into a bun, revealing her white swan neck. Around her neck was an expensive diamond necklace. I'm sorry to have kept you waiting. This familiar voice caused Ling Han's eyes to narrow abruptly. He turned sideways to look in the direction of the door. The person standing there was the second young miss of the Gu family, whom he had had a romantic encounter with in the state of Florin. It's you. It was Wang Libo who spoke. He had seen the second daughter of the Gu family, under the mask, at the birthday party of the Gu family in Florida. At this moment, he was overjoyed to see her. His face was full of surprise. I didn't expect the second daughter of the Gu family to be the famous screenwriter that all the major media companies are racking their brains to find. The big boss behind Haiyan Media, Miss Dora. Chapter 324. Wang Libo walked up to Yi Huanyan, extended his hand and said politely, Mr. Gu, I've heard a lot about you. Yi Huanyan smiled and extended her hand. You're Lisan Media's Mr. Wang. Nice to meet you. I heard from my assistant that you took the initiative to invest in our movie. You weren't angry at me for refusing to sell the rights to the script at all. You're really magnanimous. I admire you very much. Everyone knew how to be polite. Yi Huanyan used to be a person who commanded the workplace, so she knew better than anyone else. The joy and sorrow of the rest of my life with you was popular even before it was filmed. It was all because of the popularity and reputation of her previous 7 scripts. Therefore, even if this script was terrible, there would still be people who would buy it. When a movie's box office was guaranteed, it was naturally a seller's market. The investors were about to break through Haiyan Media's threshold. If Lisan Media was still thinking about her refusal to sell the rights to the script, they would be going against the money. From Gu Qi, Yi Huanyan found out that before the investment was confirmed, Lisan Media and a few other big media companies had secretly made things difficult for Haiyan Media. Their motive was very simple. It was for the sake of the script. However, Haiyan Media was backed by the Gu family, so they had probably tried to steal a chicken, only to end up losing the rice used to lure it. Fortunately, Lisan Media's Mr. Wang was a person with foresight. He stopped in time and expressed goodwill to Haiyan Media in time. Therefore, one of the 2 main investors still fell into his hands. The other one was Pleasure Group. Gu Qi said that after confirming that the rights to the script were not for sale, the first to propose an investment cooperation was Pleasure Group. Therefore, all these years, if not for the Gu Corporation's suppression, with Ling Han's business vision, he would have left Lisan Media a few streets behind. Wang Libo warmed up the atmosphere by exchanging pleasantries. He then asked the waiter to bring out the premium red wine he had stored here. These were all pleasantries that were commonly used at dinner parties. They went back and forth, saying these words, but the meaning was different. Every word Yi Huanyan said hammered at Ling Han's heart. Her way of doing things was too similar to someone else's. Finally, after exchanging pleasantries, Yi Huanyan looked up at Ling Han. Seeing his complicated expression, she took the initiative to greet him. Chief Ling, is there something on my face? You keep staring at me. Ling Han's eyes narrowed, and Wang Libo's laughter came from the side. Miss Gu, you may not know, but our President Ling is famous for not getting close to women. This is probably the first time he has lost his composure in front of a woman. You are really too beautiful. Really, Yi Huanyan took 2 steps closer and asked with a smile. I'll take it as a compliment, President Ling. The sweet fragrance on her body was endless, and her amorous smile melted the ice in his eyes. Ling Han's heart finally returned to its original place. He revealed an indifferent and distant smile and said meaningfully, Miss Gu, you're really good at hiding things. He was sure that flirtatious, hot and bold was definitely not the style of the person in his impression. It had been too long, and he had been separated for too long, so it had made him hallucinate. It was too ridiculous to link 2 completely different people together. After sitting down, Su Nianhua came back. When he saw Yi Huanyan, he was also shocked. After telling him what had happened, Wang Libo joked, I heard that the singer of the movie's theme song was personally chosen by Miss Gu. Miss Gu, are you a fan of Su Nianhua? Su Nianhua's expression was a little awkward. When he looked at Yi Huanyan again, she looked calm and composed. Yes, I've heard Mr. Su's song before, and I think it's very good. It's very compatible with my movie. If possible, I would like to talk to Mr. Su about whether he's interested in the male lead. I think this movie is very suitable for him. Hearing this, everyone's face was filled with astonishment. Wang Libo's hand that was holding the wine glass trembled, and a few drops of water fell out. But he still had to smile. Su Nianhua is a singer, but he has never acted before. Miss Gu, you might not be very clear about the domestic market. Recently, all the popular A-list and B-list stars are in Lisan Media. For example, the second male lead in your last movie, Bai Yu, and the female lead's best friend, Zhao Xiaoyu, are all in Lisan Media. If we work together again, they will be more familiar with your script. It was a common practice for investors to insert actors into the cast. This was also one of the reasons why Lisan Media tried so hard to invest in this movie. But this Gu Huanyan did not play by the rules. She put down the glass and looked at Wang Libo. I know that Bai Yu is not bad, but this movie is different from the previous one. There is no suitable role for him, President Wang. After saying this, she did not wait for Wang Libo to refute and asked Su Nianhua. I wonder if Mr. Su is willing? I have seen the movie parts you made a guest appearance in before. You don't have to worry about acting skills. We have professionals to train you. Su Nianhua's eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. You mean the male lead? Seeing Su Nianhua's hesitation, Yi Huanyan guessed that he had some concerns, so she smiled. It's okay, Mr. Su, you can go back and think about it slowly. After you have thought it through, you can contact me directly or ask your agent to contact me. When Yi Huanyan spoke to Su Nianhua, her expression was gentle, as if they were old friends. Ling Han was between the two of them, so no one noticed that Ling Han's eyes could not help but darken. Wang Libo smiled meaningfully. Miss Gu really likes Su Nianhua. Hearing this, Su Nianhua's expression was a little ugly. Too many things had happened in the past 5 years, and the once arrogant teenager had lost his edge. It was as if someone had pulled out a thorn, and he had to bow his head in front of the powerful. 3 years ago, the chain of hospitals controlled by Lu Corporation declared bankruptcy and closed down, and the Lu family was unable to recover from the setback. There was a murder lawsuit in the hospital, and public opinion was on the rise. Some people even dug up the relationship between Su Nianhua and the Lu family, and his popularity plummeted. Yi Huanyan's heart tightened, and the hand holding the wine glass tightened. She thought about it in her heart, and glanced at Wang Libo from the corner of her eye. She smiled and said, Zhao Xiaoyu's acting is not bad, and she is quite photogenic. She fits the role of the character in my movie. Hearing this, Wang Libo beamed. Miss Gu, you have good taste. That girl is young, and she just graduated last year. But her acting is definitely much better than those young actresses nowadays. She suits Miss Gu the best. I think so too. Although this role is still a challenge for her, I believe she can do it. She can definitely do it. Seeing how happy Wang Libo was, Yi Huanyan remained calm and said slowly, although the second female lead is a villain, she has a lot of inner drama. Although it is not likable, her acting skills will definitely be recognized by the director's circle, and it will be helpful for her future career. Second female lead? Wang Libo was shocked. Yes, the second female lead. This role is specially reserved for President Wang's woman. Thank you for investing in the movie, President Wang. I'll drink first. Yi Huanyan held the wine glass and smiled slyly. Chapter 325. Sometimes, one's drinking style would directly determine one's autonomy at the dining table. Yi Huanyan downed a glass of wine. Even though CEO Wang was livid, he didn't say anything. Yi Huanyan had long heard that Zhao Xiaoyu was Wang Libo's mistress outside. She had no problem promoting her. But she already had a suitable candidate in mind for the female lead. If it's the female lead, I would like to ask if Miss Guan Nai of Pleasure has the time. Wang Libo naturally had nothing to say when Guan Nai was mentioned. Her background in the Eastern European royal family was enough to shut everyone up. Ling Han was probably the one who was in a dilemma. Although Miss Guan Nai was a top celebrity in the pleasure group, she was only in the entertainment industry for fun. 5 years ago, after news of her marriage to the heir of the Eastern European royal family spread, she only appeared in 1 film a year. As for what she was going to film, it depended on her mood. Ling Han's expression tensed up. He frowned and said, Miss Gu, I'm afraid we have to ask Guan Nai's opinion on this matter. It's okay, I can wait. There's no rush. She believed that Guan Nai would agree. She had spent 3 years writing this script. Everyone in it was made of flesh and blood, and the story was inextricably linked to reality. After 3 rounds of wine, Wang Libo brought up the issue of providing the costumes for the movie. Yi Huanyan brushed him off lightly. My assistant already has a suitable supplier for the costumes. Thank you for your kindness, CEO Wang. Wang Libo wasn't angry. Or rather, he had been rejected many times. Moreover, this time wasn't a big deal. He was just curious how Gu Huanyan had so many connections in Lanjiang City when she had just returned to the country. It was as though she knew Lanjiang City like the back of her hand. Miss Gu, have you been to Lanjiang before? Not only are you familiar with the major enterprises in Lanjiang, but you also seem to be very familiar with my brother's district. Yi Huanyan's gaze froze. She quickly reacted. I stayed in Lanjiang with my brother for a period of time. He is very familiar with it. Naturally I am too. These words made Ling Han and Su Nianhua's heart skip a beat. Did she mean that 5 years ago, when Gu Xinian was in Lanjiang City, she was also there? It was no secret that Gu Huanyan was Gu Xinian's younger sister. When he heard the name Gu Huanyan, Su Nianhua was surprised at first. Why did Gu Xinian's younger sister have the same name as Yi Huanyan? Moreover, Gu Huanyan gave him a sense of familiarity that made him feel like he had met her before. After the meal, Su Nianhua and Ling Han walked out of the private clubhouse side by side. They watched as Gu Huanyan got into the car and left. Both of them took out their cigarette packs at the same time and stood at the entrance of the clubhouse smoking. Is this Miss Gu really Gu Xinian's younger sister? Su Nianhua could not help but ask. Ling Han's eyes deepened. What do you think? Su Nianhua was stunned. After a while he shook his head. Nothing. I just feel like I've seen her somewhere before. I think I'm overthinking. The white nanny van arrived at the entrance of the clubhouse. Su Nianhua put out his cigarette and threw it into the bin. My car is here. I'll leave first. Ling Han frowned and nodded. He looked at Su Nianhua thoughtfully as he got into the car. Could it be that the sense of familiarity was not just his imagination? Under the bustling neon lights of the main city, Yi Huanyan sat in the back seat of the Maybach and looked out the window at the bustling streets. The traffic was even more intense than 5 years ago. Second miss, where are we going now? Gu Qi held the steering wheel and looked at the figure in the rearview mirror. Just drive around and then go back to the company. In the penthouse of Haiyan Media, Naneo had just finished showering. The nanny Sophia, who followed him from the Four Seasons villa, helped him change into his pajamas. Then, she dried his hair and sent him to the bedroom to coax him to sleep. After Sophia closed the door to her bedroom last night, a small figure crawled out of bed under the dim yellow light. She tiptoed down the bed and flipped to her tablet. A pair of small hands skillfully turned on the computer and tapped on it for a long time. Then he opened the video interface. Young master. A woman's face appeared on the other end. She had short black hair and a healthy Asian skin tone. Her delicate facial features were cold, and she looked like she was unapproachable. It's so late. Why aren't you sleeping? Naoneo looked serious. Gu Min, you haven't told me the thing I asked you to help me investigate. Seeing Naoneo like this, Gu Min remembered that it was night in China. She frowned and said respectfully, Young master said that this is second Mrs. Business. You don't need to interfere. I won't interfere, but I have to know who my daddy is, right? I'm sorry, young master. I can't say. You think I can't find out myself? Naoneo's face darkened. His pink little face was instantly dyed with a coldness that didn't belong to his age. If I were to investigate it myself, it wouldn't be as simple as just looking for information. Young master. The woman on the other end of the video call frowned even more, but she didn't dare to be perfunctory. Uncle asked you to keep in touch with me. Didn't he want you to watch over me and not let me hack into the country's computer files? If you don't watch over me, you'll have to bear the consequences. Hearing this, Gu Min's face stiffened. She said anxiously, Young master, don't mess around. Did you forget what happened half a year ago? You almost got us killed. Who would have thought that the young master of the Gu family, at the age of 5, would be ranked in the top 10 of the international hacker rankings? Half a year ago, in the international hacker competition, Naoneo, using the code name Black Wolf, led the top 10 hackers to collectively hack into the FBI's financial network. They didn't care about a large amount of money, and as a provocation, they transferred $1 of donation to the International Red Cross. The person in charge of the FBI was furious. It directly led to the European Federation of Investigation to issue a global arrest warrant for the top 10 hackers of the International Hacker Alliance. If it wasn't for Gu Xinian discovering it quickly and hiding Naoneo's identity in time, the entire Gu family would have been involved in the investigation. Gu Min still had a lingering fear when she thought about the incident half a year ago. In the end, she weighed the pros and cons and said dejectedly, Young master, I can tell you your daddy's information. In the future, if you want to look for anything, you can look for me directly. Don't do it yourself. Young master has been busy recently and doesn't have time to care about domestic matters. If something happens, we can't bear the responsibility. Hearing this, Naoneo nodded in satisfaction. The corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a sly smile that was incompatible with his age. That depends on my mood. Thank you. Remember to send it to my email. On the other end of the video call, Gu Min's face darkened. The corners of her mouth stiffened, revealing a smile that was uglier than crying. Got it. Young master, sleep early. The screen flashed, and the video call was cut off. On the other side of the ocean, in the technology department of the Gu Family Financial Group, after sending the email, Gu Min closed her laptop and secretly cursed. What kind of freaks did the young master find? It was one thing for the second miss to undergo more than 100 surgeries in 5 years to change her face. It was one thing for her to survive a disaster and give birth to a child, but because of a car accident, her cranial nerves were abnormal. She was a lunatic with an off-the-charts IQ. She was a completely different person during the day and at night. To put it nicely, she was a child prodigy. To put it bluntly, she was schizophrenic. Chapter 326. When Yi Huanyan returned to the apartment, Naoneo was already asleep. She tiptoed into his room and tucked him in. When she was tucking him in, she saw the tablet next to his pillow. She frowned and muttered, You're still playing games before you sleep. I really need to think of a way to stop you. Late at night, Yi Huanyan found a bottle of red wine in the wine cabinet. She poured half a glass and sat alone on the balcony. She looked down at the busy streets of Lanjiang City in a daze. Now that she could stand side by side with Ling Han, she realized that something was missing in her heart. Behind the 5 or 6 office buildings was the Pleasure Group's building. There was a faint light on in the CEO's office. Some people were used to working in the middle of the night, so they kept themselves busy to comfort their restless heart at night. When the sun rose at dawn, they would close their eyes for a moment, and then they would once again fall into nonstop work. These 5 years had actually passed very quickly. When you were so busy that you didn't have time to stop and think, you would lose all your emotions. Be it happiness, unhappiness, joy, sorrow, anger, jealousy, resentment, or longing, everything could be forgotten. However, this kind of forgetting was not real forgetting. When you were free, the huge backlash was always so painful that you wished you were dead. A ray of light appeared in the east. It was a new day. After the dinner, the cooperation between Haiyan Media and the two media giants of Lanjiang City was basically confirmed. The official concept poster had also been published on the company's official Weibo. The supporting actors and actresses were confirmed to be the few young actors who had been in the limelight recently. Only the male and female leads were still undecided. When the company's agent found Su Nianhua's house, he was brushing his teeth and washing up with his daughter in the bathroom. He looked like a good father. Zheng Ro opened the door. "Brother Ray, you're here. You don't have any jobs today, right?" Zheng Ro smiled and greeted Remy into the house. She subconsciously looked in the direction of the bathroom and said apologetically, "He's still washing up. He has to take Jingjing to preschool later. He hasn't had breakfast yet, right? Let's have breakfast together." Remy hesitated. "I'm here to look for Brother Hua. I'm afraid I'll need your help." If he wanted to convince Su Nianhua, he had to convince his wife first. Although he didn't know if it would work, he had to try. Zheng Ro was very naive. She replied, "What's the matter? Brother Lei, just tell us. You've been taking care of us for the past few years. If you need our help, how can we not help? Speaking of which, it's not that I need your help. In fact, it's Brother Hua's own business." Remy took a deep breath. It's the TV series Remaining Life. "You, Remy." Before he could finish speaking, a cold voice came from the direction of the bathroom and interrupted him. Zheng Ro turned around and saw her husband standing at the bathroom door in white casual wear. His expression was serious and his tone was cold. "My family doesn't talk about work. Xiao Ro doesn't understand these things. Also, I've already turned down the offer. You don't need to persuade me anymore. I'm not interested in acting." Remy frowned and his expression darkened. "Do you know how many people want to be in this show? There are many people who want to join the cast with money. Haiyan Media clearly wants you to be the male lead. They are giving President Ling face, and also giving you face. I really don't understand why you don't want to act in the movie." "I only want to make music. I don't want to do useless things." "Make music?" Remy gasped and trembled with anger. "Okay, let's talk about making music. It's been 2 years. Have you written a good song? If I hadn't put in so much effort to get you those commercial performances, so you could sing, would you still be able to support your family now?" "Su Nianhua, don't go too far. Can you look at your own position? If you don't like my position, you can just leave. You're a top manager now. There's no need to hang around me all the time. My contract is about to expire. If worst comes to worst, I'll quit this industry." The two of them kept arguing, and the whole room was filled with the smell of gunpowder. Zheng Ro stood between the two of them, with an anxious expression. In the end, Remy slammed the door and left. She glared at Su Nianhua, and hurried to chase after him. Jingjing carefully tugged on Su Nianhua's little finger from behind and asked timidly, "Dad, what's wrong with you and Uncle Lei? Did you guys fight?" Looking at his daughter's frightened expression, Su Nianhua felt apologetic. He squatted down and said softly, "It's nothing. Jingjing, don't be afraid. Dad will take you to school." In fact, he didn't blame Remy. He knew that Remy was doing this for his own good. But he really wasn't in the mood. Too many things had happened in the past few years, and it wasn't easy for him to settle down. He didn't want to pursue a life where the spotlight was always on him. He accepted his fate. At the entrance of Lanjiang City's bilingual kindergarten, many luxury cars drove children to school. The private kindergarten was bilingual and had strong privacy. It was the best school for aristocrats in Lanjiang City. After Su Nianhua handed the children to the school teacher, he was about to leave when he saw an unexpected figure in the corridor. She was wearing a khaki trench coat and dark green suede heels with red soles. Her long, wavy chestnut hair fell over her shoulders. She was squatting down and waving at the little boy who was being taken away by the teacher. She smiled brightly, It was completely different from the fake smile she had worn at the dinner party a few nights ago. Yi Huanyan stood up. When she turned around and saw Su Nianhua, she stopped in her tracks. The two of them looked at each other in silence for a while in the corridor. Su Nianhua was the first to speak. "Was that your son?" Yi Huanyan nodded. "Yes. He insisted on coming to Lanjiang City with me. I'm usually too busy to take care of him. I was afraid that he would be bored, so I thought it would be safer to send him to school. You're here too." "My daughter is here too," Su Nianhua explained with a smile. "What a coincidence." Yi Huanyan nodded and asked about the school. Although she trusted Gu Qi, there was no harm in knowing more about the school. "This school is pretty good, right?" "It's pretty good. The teachers are all professionally trained. They won't mistreat the children. My daughter likes her teacher very much." Su Nianhua looked very gentle when he talked about his daughter. Yi Huanyan smiled. "You're so patient with your daughter. You must love your wife very much, right?" Su Nianhua smiled. "She's a rather muddle-headed person. I'll have to be patient with her." After they left the school, the two of them waved goodbye at the school gate and got into their respective cars. They didn't mention anything about work during their conversation, which surprised Su Nianhua. What surprised him even more was that after he got into the car, he held the steering wheel and reversed the car while recalling what he had just said. He suddenly realized that his attitude was very different from usual. There was an inexplicable sense of familiarity about Gu Huanyan. He didn't think that he was a talkative person, but he seemed to be very relaxed in front of her. This feeling was so strange that he couldn't help but think about it. The phone in the car rang. It was Zheng Ro. "Honey, Brother Lei already told me. Do you really not want to play the male lead?" Chapter 327. "You know about it?" Su Nianhua's voice echoed in the car. He frowned and spoke into the phone. His tone was heavy. "Do you also think I should take on this show?" On the other end of the phone, Zheng Ro quickly explained. "That's not what I meant. I have never interfered with your work in the past few years. You can do whatever you like and want to do. If you really don't like acting, we can tell Brother Lei clearly. Or if you want to take a break for a while, I can tell him." The voice on the phone was very gentle and even a little careful. Zheng Ro's tolerance and understanding had been his greatest comfort in the past few years. "Hubby, are you listening?" "Yes." His voice was hoarse. "I'm listening. Drive slowly then. We'll talk when you come back." "Okay." After hanging up the phone, Su Nianhua held the steering wheel and stared at the road for a while. He had done too little for this family all these years. Perhaps it was time to change. After Yi Huanyan returned to the studio, Gu Qi handed her Guan Nai's information. "I've contacted Pleasure. They said that President Ling has always been in contact with Guan Nai alone. Guan Nai doesn't have an agent, so I'm afraid we'll have to go through President Ling of Pleasure to contact her." Yi Huanyan closed Guan Nai's documents and looked like she had expected it. "Got it. Arrange it and ask if President Ling has time to meet me. I want to talk to them about Guan Nai." Gu Qi nodded. Yi Huanyan pondered for a few seconds and stopped in her tracks. She turned around and said, "Also, check the secret shareholders of Pleasure." 5 years ago, when she was working at Pleasure and Pleasure, she had always had some doubts about the existence of Guan Nai. Before she entered the company, Guan Nai was already an A-list celebrity in the company, but her whereabouts were often uncertain, so her reputation in the industry was not very good. Many people said that she was acting like a big shot. Her first formal contact with Guan Nai was at the Happy Tourism Festival that year. At that time, Guan Nai was the only one in the company who could compete with Sheng Inren, but she was very cold and disdained things like fighting for the position. Later, at the annual meeting, she didn't care about several third-tier artists who were clearly not as good as her standing in the center position. Moreover, it was said that Guan Nai was an artist Ling Han had personally signed with Pleasure when he first started working there. To Pleasure, her existence was probably more than just an artist. In recent years, there were many people who represented Gu Xinian in suppressing Pleasure. It was true that Ling Han had the ability to support such a large company, but if there was no one behind him, Pleasure would not be able to achieve anything. After explaining, Yi Huanyan returned to the office to look through the various contracts and documents that needed to be dealt with. Under the floor-to-ceiling window, the sun shone on her back, covering her figure with a faint halo. Gucci worked very quickly. When he came back and saw such a scene, he was a little dazed. Yi Huanyan looked up. "How is it? Is it all done?" He came back to his senses. "I have an appointment with President Ling for dinner tonight to talk about Guan Nai. In addition, the technical department has checked the matter of the invisible shareholders. A part of Pleasure's year-end bonus every year flows into the Eastern European royal family." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan turned the gel pen in her hand thoughtfully. It was similar to what she had thought. When she used to work at Pleasure, there was a bonus that went missing every year. It seemed that only Ling Han himself knew about this bonus. At that time, she was just a secretary and was not qualified to care about the board of directors matters. Now that she was a partner, she had to figure out the asset structure of Pleasure. At night, the appointment was made at Donglin Private Clubhouse. Not long after Yi Huanyan sat down, Ling Han arrived right on time. This was the second time they had met after returning to China. She could clearly feel that Ling Han was deliberately distancing himself from her. "My secretary said that you wanted to talk to me about Guan Nai?" Ling Han took off his coat and handed it to the waiter. He pulled out a chair and sat opposite Yi Huanyan. "Yes, I said at dinner last time. If there is a chance, I hope that Guan Nai can be the female lead of this movie. I've told you before that this is a very difficult thing to do. After Guan Nai got married, she rarely took on any roles. She only took on one movie a year. It all depends on her mood. 5 years ago, Guan Nai got married and announced her retirement from the entertainment industry. For the next 5 years, she took on one movie a year. 2 of them were dark horses in those 2 years. The box office was not high, but the reviews were very good. She won the Best Actress award twice. The other 3 movies had high ticket sales, but they won the Golden Broom Award for Best Lousy Movie. Guan Nai was directly scolded as the queen of lousy movies. Yi Huanyan had seen all 5 movies. The directors, producers were all different. If there was anything in common, it was that the female lead was set up as a person at the bottom of society, interspersed with the drama of the prince falling in love with Cinderella. It was either a comedy or a tragedy. It was very different from Guan Nai's background. "Have you shown her my script?" "Yes, I have, but there is no reply." Ling Han made his attitude clear. "Guan Nai is on vacation at this time. She won't read any scripts. Where is she?" Yi Huanyan looked at him with a look of wanting to get to the bottom of the matter. Ling Han frowned. "Does this movie have to have Guan Nai? I remember that Haiyan Media didn't mention this before signing the contract with me." Pleasure and many other artists have a similar image to Guan Nai. You can choose freely. Even if the schedule doesn't match, you can adjust it and focus on your movie. Other artists. Yi Huanyan looked at Ling Han meaningfully. President Ling's ex-girlfriend Sheng Anren? Ling Han's eyes darkened. He stared into the woman's eyes, and the feeling of déjà vu seemed to come back. He frowned and said unhappily, "I didn't expect President Gu to like reading the groundless news of gossip magazines." Hearing this, Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She immediately restrained the expression on her face and calmly picked up the cup by her hand. "It's just a joke. President Ling, don't take it seriously. President Gu is really good at joking." Ling Han frowned, and his face was a bit gloomy. Gu Huanyan seemed to understand him very well. While speaking, she could always secretly cut a hole in his heart, giving him a familiar yet strange feeling. He didn't know if this feeling was deliberately created by her, or if it was inadvertently revealed by her. He suddenly thought of something. Although he had no evidence, his intuition told him that it might have something to do with her. No one is more suitable for the female lead of this movie than Guan Nai, just like no one is more suitable for the male lead than Sun Yanhua. Since you are working with Haiyan, you should trust me. Every decision I make is to create the best conditions for Pleasure to establish a foothold in the media industry. Yi Huanyan curved her red lips and smiled seductively. "So I hope President Ling can seriously consider this." Chapter 328. Ling Han frowned even more. Both Su Nianhua and Guan Nai were not easy to invite. However, just as Gu Huanyan said, the male lead, Su Nianhua, and the female lead, Guan Nai, together with the scriptwriter Dora, could almost predict what kind of box office results would be when the movie premiered. Guan Nai is on vacation in Iceland. If you are confident about your script, you can meet her in person. I will give you the exact address. Ling Han's cold voice sounded in the room. Since it was a win-win situation, why not? This was within Yi Huanyan's expectations, but she was confused about one thing. Shouldn't you be more persuasive than me if you go in person? Aren't you going? Ling Han stayed silent for a few seconds. I have a grudge against her. I am afraid that if I go, it will take twice the effort for half the result. Guan Nai was a very vengeful person. She had helped him 5 years ago, but he had betrayed her vacation location, which had led to William finding her and bringing her back to Eastern Europe. She still held a grudge against him. Seeing that the woman was skeptical, he added, "It's not like I won't do anything. You can leave Su Nianhua to me." Yi Huanyan's lips curled into a smile. She raised her wine glass and looked at him across the long table. "I believe in your ability." Her smile seemed to have a special magic, which made Ling Han's heart skip a beat. He didn't even have time to think and blurted out, "Who are you?" Yi Huanyan smiled calmly. "I am me. Who do you think I am? Or rather, who do you want me to be?" These words were thought-provoking. A layer of doubt appeared in Ling Han's eyes. After dinner, Ling Han offered to drive her home, but she politely refused. "No, my assistant is waiting for me at the door." "But President Ling, you are drunk. Is anyone coming to pick you up?" "My car is over there." Ling Han looked not far away. The driver in the car seemed to have seen him. He got out of the car and waved. Yi Huanyan looked at the capable woman in front of the car and suddenly felt a little dazed. She suddenly remembered that 5 years ago, Xiao Dong was still an intern secretary in the finance department. She was carefree and didn't care about anything. She didn't even know what she was supposed to do in the secretary's office. Now she had become the chief secretary in charge. The breeze made her feel a little dizzy, probably because she had drunk too much. Gucci reacted quickly and held her. "Second miss, the wind is strong. Get in the car." Ling Han walked to the front of the car and instinctively turned back when he heard the sound. He saw Gu Huanyan being helped into the car by a man who looked like an assistant. The assistant was tall and well-built. His eyebrows were furrowed, and the corners of his eyes were filled with concern for her. Other than concern, there was also an expression that only men could understand. It was an expression that only men would have when looking at women. "That must be President Gu from Haiyan Media. She is so beautiful. Even when she is drunk, she still looks so good." Secretary Dong sighed beside Ling Han. Ling Han got angry and said with a sullen face, "She is just showing off." Secretary Dong's smile froze at the corner of his mouth, and there was a hint of astonishment in his eyes as he looked at Ling Han. Aren't these words a little too sharp? And a little too ungentlemanly? Did the boss stumble in the hands of this President Gu? Why did he have such a low opinion of her? Ling Han held the car door and looked at the Maybach until it disappeared from his sight. Secretary Dong reminded Ling Han, "President Ling, are you still not leaving?" Ling Han got into the car. After talking to Ling Han about the casting, Yi Huanyan packed her things in the apartment and got ready to go to Iceland. She mentioned it to Naaneo before she left, and he insisted on going. She had even bought the plane tickets. But the day before they left, this guy suddenly changed his mind. "You said you were going. I booked the plane tickets for you and gave Safina a holiday. If you don't go, where are you going to stay these 2 days?" Yi Huanyan asked as she packed her suitcase. Naaneo was wearing a yellow and black bee pajama suit. He was stuffing his precious toys into the beetle suitcase and said seriously, "I have an appointment with Jingjing. We are going to attend the kindergarten performance together." Yi Huanyan stared at him with her arms crossed. "Then why are you packing?" Naaneo turned his head to look at her and blinked. "Aren't you leaving?" "I'm going to stay at Jingjing's house." Yi Huanyan was speechless. She sat down on the carpet and picked up the apple that she had taken a bite of. She chewed on it and said vaguely, "You keep calling her Jingjing. Does she even care about you? You even want to stay at her house? Do you think her parents will agree? Naoneo copied her and sat down on the carpet. He spread his hands. Anyway, I'm not going to Iceland with you. Safina is not here either. If you want me to starve to death, you can just leave me alone at home. Yi Huanyan knocked his head with the apple in her hand. That's enough. You can't just go to her house whenever you want. Stop fooling around. If you really want to attend the art exhibition, you can just stay at home. I'll ask Gu Qi to find someone to cook for you and send you to and from school. I'll only be gone for a week and will be back soon. Naoneo cried out in pain. He touched his head and stared at Yi Huanyan angrily. I really wonder if I'm your biological son. Of course. I'm very sure of that. After all, you look exactly like your father. You're a miniature version of him. Yi Huanyan's eyes lit up when she said this. If there was anything that kept her from being able to forget Ling Han for the past 5 years, it was probably watching this precious son of hers grow up day by day, looking more and more like Ling Han as he grew up. The way he frowned, the way he looked at her with disdain, the cold personality, and the way he usually acted. No one would believe that he wasn't her son. The next day, Yi Huanyan flew to Iceland early in the morning. After telling Gu Qi to take care of Naoneo for the next 2 days at the airport, she checked in her luggage and walked through the security checkpoint empty-handed. She heard that Iceland was very beautiful. She could treat it as a vacation. At the entrance of Lanjiang City's bilingual kindergarten, Su Nianhua sent his daughter to school. As soon as his daughter got out of the car, she caught up with a little boy in front of her. The two of them talked and laughed as they walked through the gate. She didn't even look at her real father, which made him feel depressed. Just as he was about to leave, he turned around and saw a familiar figure standing in front of his car. That figure looked at him coldly like a statue. In the past 5 years he rarely saw Ling Han. At first, he was dissatisfied with him because of Yi Huanyan's car accident. That was why he deliberately caused him a lot of trouble, but deliberately refused to see him. Later on, when the Liu family was in trouble, he found out that Ling Han had secretly helped him a lot. This kind of help always hurt his self-esteem. When the two of them met, it was more or less awkward. This was probably one of the few times that Ling Han took the initiative to look for him. Chapter 329. Are you looking for me because of that movie? Su Nianhua did not speak until the car arrived at Su Nianhua's house. Ling Han nodded. Yes, this movie is a good opportunity for you. Su Nianhua frowned and looked complicated. It's a good opportunity for the company, isn't it? With the script written by Miss Dora, and the cooperation with the new media company Haiyan, if the movie was a success, it would undoubtedly paint a brilliant stroke in the history of pleasure. I don't deny it. Ling Han stared at him. But it's a win-win situation. Before he could finish, Su Nianhua raised his hand and interrupted him. I've thought about it. I won't renew the contract after it ends. I plan to quit the entertainment industry. Hearing this, Ling Han frowned. You've thought it through? What are you going to do if you quit the entertainment industry? How are you going to support yourself, your wife and children? Su Nianhua curled his lips and gave a self-deprecating smile. Haiyan Media paid quite a lot for the theme song of the movie. I'm actually quite grateful to be in this industry. I can easily get a few million yuan just by singing a song. It's enough for an ordinary person to open a small shop and live the rest of his life. He had earned a lot of money over the years, but something had happened to the Liu family's hospital, and old Master Liu had died of a cerebral hemorrhage. All the debts fell on the shoulders of Mrs. Liu, who was the legal representative of the company, which was equivalent to falling on Su Nianhua's head. It was not until the end of last year that all the debts were paid off. It was also from this year that Su Nianhua had saved some money through some commercial performances. Ling Han thought that it was because he had been working too hard for the past few years, so he had no passion for creating music. He originally thought that this was just a temporary state, but he did not expect that leaving the entertainment industry was a plan that he had been planning for a long time. So you've been waiting for the contract with pleasure to expire? Ling Han's face sank. Su Nianhua did not refute it, which was an indirect admission. Ling Han looked at him coldly. It's just a small incident, and you've lost all your fighting spirit. When you signed with pleasure, the board of directors said that you were a composer with passion and dreams. Look at yourself now. Where's the passion in you? Hearing this, a trace of ridicule appeared in Su Nianhua's eyes as he sneered. Passion? Do you think everyone in the world is as cold-blooded as you? Do you think that after losing a family or a lover, they can recover in the blink of an eye? You have a successful career, and you have never failed. But have you ever thought about who you can share everything you have with now? After saying this, Su Nianhua stepped on the brakes and stopped the car at the entrance of the community. Get out of the car. Ling Han's face was livid, and he glanced at Su Nianhua coldly. After pulling open the car door, he caught a glimpse of a figure behind the car from the corner of his eyes. His gaze shifted, and he turned around to ask, if Yin Yan was still here and she tried to persuade you, would you still have the same attitude? Su Nianhua held the steering wheel in silence. Meanwhile, the figure of the woman who appeared behind the car with 2 shopping bags in her hands swayed slightly. She looked at Ling Han with a gaze filled with embarrassment. The corners of Ling Han's lips curled up as he got into his car that was following behind. He was a vengeful person. Those who schemed against him had to pay a price. When Su Nianhua got home, he saw the 2 shopping bags at the entrance. He was stunned for a moment. When he thought about Zheng Rou's usual habits, he understood. He complained about her throwing things around again, and helplessly sorted the things in the 2 bags into the refrigerator. Why did you put things at the entrance again? Don't you find it disgusting to put food and shoes together? When he finished complaining and walked into the living room, he found that there was no one in the living room. However, there was a rustling sound coming from the bedroom. Not long after, Zheng Rou walked out with a suitcase. She looked like she was going on a long trip. Where are you going? You have so many bags. I'm going back to my hometown. Take care of Jingjing for the next 2 days. Su Nianhua stood up from the sofa. Back to your hometown? Why are you suddenly going back to your hometown? What happened at home? My mom is sick. I'm going back to see her. She's sick. I'm going back with you. It's nothing serious. Besides, don't you have to prepare the theme song for the movie? Just take good care of the child. Zheng Rou left in a hurry. She only left a few words. She did not even say when she would be back. Su Nianhua stood at the entrance with a blank face. When he realized that Zheng Rou was angry, she was already on the plane to Iceland. During the 5 years of marriage, she had many ideas about traveling around the world with him. However, they all failed in the face of reality. When she graduated, Su Nianhua proposed to her while she was pregnant. She still remembered the feeling of winning the lottery clearly. It was like Cinderella finally married a prince. They should have lived a happy life in the future. However, the days after marriage were like drinking water. Only the person who drank it knew whether it was hot or cold. She knew that there was someone else in her husband's heart, a woman who was already dead. It was ridiculous to think about it. A person could never win against a person who no longer existed, because she was already dead. Therefore, what remained in his heart would be more and more beautiful day by day. Even if they had their share of unhappiness, the dead was more important. After her death, he would only think of her goodness. A living person could never compare to her. In the airport of Iceland, after getting off the plane, Yi Huanyan felt cool and comfortable. In September, Iceland was still in the season suitable for tourism. The average daily temperature was mild, but it was still much colder than the weather in China, where people could still wear short sleeves. When they were on the way to Iceland, they were forced to land on an unknown island due to turbulence. This caused the plane to be delayed for 3 hours. When they arrived, the sky was already dark. Her phone was out of battery. She could not contact the person who was supposed to pick her up. She did not have any foreign currency in her wallet. She could not spend the money in her wallet. Yi Huanyan felt that this might be the most unlucky she had ever been on a trip. She pulled her suitcase and looked for a global chain McDonald's near the airport. She planned to borrow a place to charge her battery. However, before she reached the place, she met a lone robber on the empty road. In the dark night, When she realized that a man in a black raincoat was following her, she realized that there was no bottom line to being unlucky. Just when you thought you were unlucky enough, there would always be something that told you that you could be even more unlucky. The bearded robber was mumbling something, but Yi Huanyan guessed that he was probably saying, "Hand over all your money." Therefore, she rummaged through her wallet and handed over a stack of bright red money. However, he flipped it over, and the money flew all over the road. Yi Huanyan saw the gun on his waist. She took off her watch and rings with trembling hands and handed them to him. He still looked impatient. "Sister, why are you here? My husband and brother-in-law are waiting for you at the airport." Suddenly, a clear voice sounded from behind them. The robber and Yi Huanyan looked in the direction of the voice at the same time. They saw a Chinese woman wearing a khaki windbreaker. She was standing 5 meters behind Yi Huanyan with a suitcase. She was looking at them calmly. Chapter 330. The woman in the windbreaker had obviously just come out of the airport. She looked young, in her early 20s. She was dragging a huge silver suitcase behind her. Standing in the wind, her voice trembled as she spoke. Yi Huanyan's heart sank. It was a good thing to act bravely for a just cause, but she had to weigh her own abilities. With such a small body, she had come out to help. She was most likely going to get herself involved. The big man in front of her waved at the woman in the distance with a provocative look. There was a smile on his face, which made people shudder. Yi Huanyan didn't even think about it. She hugged the big man's waist and shouted behind her, "Run and call the police. Don't worry about me." There was a rush of footsteps behind her. The big man seemed to be angry. He grabbed Yi Huanyan's wrist and picked her up like a chicken. He directly carried her on his shoulder and chased after the woman. Yi Huanyan's waist hurt from being bounced by her. She struggled to raise her head and saw the woman in the khaki windbreaker turn back. There was another person beside her. Looking at the figure, it was a tall woman. "Don't be afraid. I'm back to save you." When she heard this, Yi Huanyan wanted to kill herself. How could she meet such a stupid heroine? She didn't even have the strength to truss a chicken, but she still wanted to save her. Did she really think that anyone on the roadside was a fighter? She dared to come back, just because she pulled a woman. The big man carrying Yi Huanyan mumbled something again. She didn't know what he said, but Yi Huanyan felt her legs go soft, and she fell on the ground. When she raised her head again, the two people in front of her were already wrestling. For a moment, she thought that she had seen wrongly. The woman pulled back by the woman in the windbreaker was very skilled. She was fighting with the big man, who was at least 185 meters tall, but she was not at a disadvantage. The woman in the windbreaker hurriedly pulled her up from the ground and asked with concern, "Are you okay?" Yi Huanyan looked at her gratefully, then looked at the fighting scene in front of her with a shocked expression. "I'm fine. This girl, where did you find her? With her skills, is she from the local riot police?" The woman in the trench coat shook her head like a rattle drum. "She just got off the plane too. Her family runs a martial arts school. I came here on the same flight as her, so I know her. Didn't you just ask me to look for the police? I just happened to meet her." The fight had caused quite a commotion. 2 fire hydrants by the roadside had been kicked to smithereens, and water spurted out, triggering the alarm system. Before Yi Huanyan could react, a group of airport riot police surrounded them in the hazy fog. At the airport police station, the 3 of them were brought to the interrogation room. After their documents were checked, they found a person who was good at English to communicate with Yi Huanyan. It was not easy to explain the situation clearly. "What? You're saying that the burly man was a police officer? Not a robber?" Yi Huanyan could not believe it. "But he was clearly holding me hostage." The blue-eyed police officer in front of her frowned, then turned to call in the bearded man from earlier. He took the initiative to act as the interpreter between the 2 of them. He said that when he saw you walking alone on the airport road, he wanted to remind you that it was very foggy at night, and that it was easy to get lost. But you kept giving him your wallet and watch, so he knew that you misunderstood him. He wanted to explain, but you couldn't understand him, so he simply took you to the police station. Then, a girl who knows Chinese kung fu appeared out of nowhere and fought with him. Speaking of this person, the bearded man touched his head, a little confused. This could be considered a huge blunder. Fortunately, the people in the police station were not bad. They did not ask Yi Huanyan to compensate for the broken fire hydrant. After a simple report of the matter, they informed the other 2 interrogation rooms to let them go. Yi Huanyan waited at the door of the interrogation room. Not long after, the girl who knew kung fu walked out while stretching her shoulders. While walking, she muttered, "What the hell are you talking about? Why are you babbling?" Yi Huanyan's face changed when she saw her. Little 5. Although her hair was dyed black again, she was dressed more feminine, and she looked a lot more mature than 5 years ago. She still looked stubborn. It was very foggy at night. If it were not for the fog, she would have recognized her on the road. Hearing the words little 5, Chen Yin's face froze. She stopped moving her arms and looked up at Yi Huanyan in surprise. "What did you call me?" No one had called her little 5 for many years. Yi Huanyan forgot about her feelings and said excitedly, "Little 5, you don't remember me." "I am." The words came to an abrupt stop. For so many years, she had called her Dora and Gu Huanyan. Now, she did not know how to introduce herself to her old friends. "You are?" Chen Yin frowned and looked at Yi Huanyan. "You called me little 5. Chen Yin had only been called little 5 by 5 people in her life. That was 5 years ago in Lanjiang City's number 4 women's prison. Yi Huanyan clenched her fists and explained, "I am Yi Huanyan." In fact, she had never thought of hiding her true identity from anyone. It was just that some old friends were difficult to meet in their original appearance. Xiao was not one of those people. She still remembered that 5 years ago, there was a warm period of time in the women's prison where they depended on each other. Chen Yin's face froze, and she looked at Yi Huanyan in disbelief. "Sister Yin Yan. You said you are my sister Yin Yan?" She stared at Yi Huanyan in a daze for a long time before hugging her. "How did you become like this? You used to be, oh my god." Yi Huanyan was stunned. She thought she would have to spend a lot of time explaining to Chen Yin why she looked like a different person. She did not expect this girl to be as open-minded as before. She completely believed her when she called her little 5. "Oh my god, where did you get plastic surgery? You are so beautiful. Is it popular to have plastic surgery like this? Recommend me to go too. I want to have my eyes opened." When she heard this, Yi Huanyan's mouth froze and she said embarrassedly, "Little 5, I will explain it to you later. You just got off the plane too? Where are you staying now?" "I came to Iceland with my brother for the competition. We are staying at the Foggy Island Hotel." "Sister, what about you? What a coincidence, me too." Chen Yin was excited. She suddenly slapped her thigh and said, "Oh no, I am afraid my brother is still waiting for me at the entrance of the airport." As she spoke, she pulled Yi Huanyan's hand and ran towards the gate. The big man who had fought with her in the police station kept giving her a thumbs up. She turned around and blew a loud whistle. "Sister, help me translate. Tell them to come and watch my competition the day after tomorrow." Yi Huanyan did not know whether to laugh or cry. She turned around and waved at the police at the entrance of the police station and helped her translate. The 2 suitcases in Chen Yin's hands whirred, and they arrived at the entrance of the airport in the blink of an eye. A group of burly men in uniform stood in front of the airport van. When they saw Chen Yin from afar, they suddenly shouted, "She is back. That girl is back. Over there. Stupid girl, you are running around again." A dignified voice sounded out of place in the cheering crowd. The atmosphere instantly froze. Chapter 331. Chen Yin had just arrived at the entrance of the airport when the head coach smacked her on the head. The head coach looked to be in his early 30s. He was still very young, but he had an imposing aura around him. "Brother, it hurts. You still know pain. You only remember not to run around when it hurts." A group of men wearing the same uniform by the side talked about how anxious the head coach was after Chen Yin disappeared, and how he almost called the police. Chen Yin stuck out her tongue and pulled Yi Huanyan, who had been ignored, to the side in front of her. She pointed at the head coach who was still angry and said, "This is my brother Chunli." She then held Yi Huanyan's arm and giggled, "This is my sister Yan Yan. I am Gu Huanyan." Yi Huanyan interrupted Chen Yin before she could finish her introduction. Chen Yin only looked at her in confusion, but didn't say anything. When Chunli saw Yi Huanyan, he nodded politely as a greeting. However, the group of burly men standing behind him started to joke. "Little sister, where did you find this elder sister on the island? Let us go and find two of them as our partners." That's right. Remember that we are brothers." Chen Yin turned her face and shouted, "This is my sister. You have to be more polite." Another wave of joking sounded. Chen Yin's little aura couldn't suppress the burly men. She looked at Yi Huanyan apologetically and seemed to be very embarrassed. Yi Huanyan smiled and took the initiative to walk in front of the men. She said naturally and generously, "I met little Wu about 6 years ago. I haven't seen her in a few years. I heard that little Wu's family runs a martial arts school. You are all little Wu's brothers, right? Brothers, nice to meet you. My name is Gu Huanyan." At this time of the year, the island was always foggy. After 2 meters, it was almost impossible to see people's faces. When Chen Yin introduced Yi Huanyan just now, Chunli was in the middle. The men were a long distance away from Yi Huanyan, so they couldn't see her face. They only thought of Chen Yin's crazy sister and sister. The men thought that Yi Huanyan was that kind of person, so they started to joke around. Now that a great beauty suddenly stood in front of them, everyone was stunned. Those who came out to compete were the best of the younger generation in the martial arts school. The older ones were in their early 20s, while the younger ones were only 15 or 16 years old. When they saw a great beauty like Yi Huanyan, who had both looks and figure, several of them blushed and were too embarrassed to speak. Chen Yi knew the temperament of her brothers the best. Seeing this, she laughed out loud and said disdainfully, "Why are you all so quiet? You bunch of good-looking dogs. Seeing that my sister is as beautiful as a flower, you're regretting it now, aren't you? You can't wait to swallow those hooligans' words just now and commit suicide 100 times, right?" One of the youngest youths said anxiously, "I didn't say anything. I didn't say anything just now. Sister, don't misunderstand." The tall man who took the lead to tease just now glared at the youth who spoke. "What kind of sister is she to you?" After saying this, he eagerly moved in front of Yi Huanyan, wiped his hands, and extended his hand. "Miss Gu, right? This humble one's surname is Lung, and his name is Yifeng. It's the first time we've met. My juniors didn't know any better, so allow me to apologize on their behalf." Before Yi Huanyan could speak, Chen Yin sneered and said without giving him any face, "Senior brother Lung, you were the one who made the most noise just now. Do you want my sister to introduce someone to you?" Hearing this, Lung Feng glared fiercely at Chen Yin, then looked at Yi Huanyan sheepishly. He couldn't retract his hand, but he couldn't extend it either. It was extremely awkward. Yi Huanyan smiled very naturally and took the initiative to shake his hand. "Senior brother Lung, right? You should be younger than me, so I'll take advantage of you. I'll call you senior brother Lung like little Wu." With this handshake, Lung Feng was so excited that his face turned red all the way to his neck. He nodded repeatedly, and the group of juniors behind him was very envious. Chen Yin's brother, Chunli, looked at the time and urged them to check in at the hotel. There was a pre-match meeting the next day, so they quickly got into the car. At first, the juniors were a little reluctant to leave. They pushed one another to ask for Yi Huanyan's contact number, but they didn't expect Chen Yin to directly say, "My sister is staying in the same hotel as us." The group of people was very excited. They helped carry the suitcases and made space for the seats. They were very busy. Yi Huanyan was smiling all the way. She listened to Chen Yin complain that in the past, she had never had any juniors help her carry her suitcases when she was out for a competition. She scolded all of them. The foggy island hotel was a little far from the airport, and the road was full of fog. They drove for a full 3 hours before they arrived. It was said that the martial arts competition would be held at the racetrack next to the hotel the next day. After checking in, the group of people from the martial arts school warmly invited Yi Huanyan to watch the competition. Chen Yin held Yi Huanyan's arm and stared at her brothers. Do you guys think that you can win the championship tomorrow? Don't embarrass yourself in front of your own family when you lose. Shame on you. If it were any other day, Lung Feng would definitely take the lead to argue with Chen Yin. However, for some reason, they were all reserved and shy today. They all waved at Yi Huanyan and followed Chun-Li back to their rooms to rest. Chun-Ying was the only one left standing in the same spot with a face full of emotion. Oh my God, Sister Yin, you're so charming. In just a few hours, my group of shameless seniors and juniors have changed their temperaments. They're usually so arrogant. Well, I think that your juniors are quite cute. Didn't you want to listen to me talk about what happened to me in the past few years? Come on, let's go to my room. Yi Huanyan pulled her suitcase and waved the room card in her hand. Chun-Ying nodded. She had only taken 2 steps when she suddenly stopped. She stared in the direction of the check-in counter without blinking. Sister, wait for me. I saw an acquaintance. With that, she ran towards the counter. A woman in a khaki windbreaker stood in front of the counter. She looked young, in her early 20s. She had a very sweet appearance and a mature charm. The moment Yi Huanyan turned around, she vaguely felt that she looked familiar, but she could not remember where she had seen her before. Chen Yin pulled her to the front and introduced her excitedly. Sister, this is Zeng Ro. She is the one who stood up for you on the airport road. She came on the same flight as me. If she didn't ask me to save you, I wouldn't have met you. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned. She felt that she had heard this name before. As she was thinking, Zeng Ro reached out her hand and smiled very gently. Hello, I am Zeng Ro. I am Gu Huanyan. After Yi Huanyan introduced herself, Zeng Ro was stunned for a moment. Chapter 332. Yi Huanyan wore a wine-red windbreaker, a pair of blue high-waisted wide-legged pants, and a pair of brown suede high heels. Her makeup was exquisite, and her facial features were deep. She looked like a mixed blood. She was mature with a hint of charm that made people want to talk about her. This flirtatious appearance was completely different from the style of the person, with the same name, as her in his impression. Zeng Ro's heart suddenly returned to its original position. Yi Huanyan thought about the incident at the police station and felt a little apologetic. I should have waited for you at the police station, but Xiao Wu was in a hurry to leave. My mind was in a mess and I forgot about you. I only remembered you when we were almost at the hotel. I'm really sorry for causing you trouble. Zeng Ro waved her hand. It's okay, it's okay. But it's really a coincidence that you're staying in the same hotel as us. Yi Huanyan smiled. How about this? I'll take you out for a meal as an apology. Hearing this, Zeng Ro's eyes flashed with a trace of disappointment. I might not be able to stay in this hotel. Chen Yin's eyes also dimmed. What's wrong? Chen Yin sighed. Just now, Xiao Ro was checking in at the counter, but the counter said that all the rooms were full, so she couldn't stay. How could that be? How could they say that they couldn't stay when they booked in advance? I'll go and reason with them. Yi Huanyan frowned and was about to pull her luggage to the counter. Zeng Ro hurriedly stopped her. Don't go, it's my problem. Yi Huanyan was slightly stunned and turned her head in confusion. After explaining for a while, he found out that Zeng Ro came in a hurry and did not book a hotel in advance. He thought that the Misty Island Hotel had the most rooms on the island, so there should be some vacant rooms. He did not expect that the next day would be the joint martial arts competition between Northern Europe and China. So the whole hotel was full of people from various martial arts schools. I do want Sister Xiao Ro to stay with me, but our dojo is a suite. There are too many big and burly men in there, and they are too reserved when they see women. If we don't hold a meeting in these 2 days and affect the competition, my brother will definitely not agree. Chen Yin sighed helplessly. What's so difficult about that? Just stay with me. Yi Huanyan smiled at Zeng Ro. I'm also staying in a suite, but there's only 1 bedroom. If you don't mind, you can squeeze with me. I'll ask the hotel to add another bed for the bedroom. Really? Zeng Ro's eyes lit up. That's great. She was already in a bad mood. And when the hotel had no rooms, she was in a terrible mood. She did not expect to see a light at the end of the tunnel. In the hotel suite, Yi Huanyan put down her luggage and changed into slippers. She asked the two people behind her to sit as they pleased. Zheng Ro was still jet-lagged, so she went to the bathroom to take a shower and prepared to go to bed early. Chun Yin looked at the decoration of the suite and sighed. Sister, it must be tens of thousands of yuan for you to stay here for a night, right? You're so rich. Yi Huanyan was washing her hands in the bathroom when she heard that. She poked her head out and said casually, Your suite has 6 bedrooms, a living room, and a kitchen. Isn't it more expensive than mine? And you're talking about me? How is it the same? Our entire dojo lives there, and you live alone. It's 2 people. Yi Huanyan corrected her while wiping her hands. Chun Yin raised her eyebrows and ran to the sofa next to Yi Huanyan and sat down. Didn't you live alone before Xiaoro came? Sister, is your husband very rich? Yi Huanyan patted her head. Can't I be very rich? I'm a screenwriter, and now I have my own company to make money. Oh right, you don't know yet, right? I'm preparing to design a costume for a movie, and I've handed it to Big Sister's company. Big Sister. Chun Yin jumped up from the sofa. Before I went abroad, I went to Big Sister's company to help her recruit bodyguards. Why didn't she tell me about this? She didn't tell me that she saw you? Don't be so agitated. Can you listen to me first? Yi Huanyan pulled her down from the sofa and said seriously, With my current appearance, other than you, no one else can recognize me. Besides, Big Sister hasn't seen me before. My assistant is the one who talks about the cooperation. Chun Yin came back to her senses and slapped her thigh. All right, Big Sister, what happened to your face? You don't have to do so much plastic surgery. You look completely different from before. Did you do plastic surgery to change your voice too? At this moment, Yi Huanyan really doubted Chun Yin's intelligence. No wonder she swore to start a career. But after being released from prison, she obediently went home to train and participate in the martial arts competition. She had no choice but to take out her tablet and search for the news of a car accident from 5 years ago. She handed it to Chun Yin. Don't you usually watch the news? Yi Huanyan briefly talked about the car accident 5 years ago and the burns after falling off a cliff. That's why I haven't been hiding from you guys for the past 5 years. I've been undergoing rehabilitation. Actually, it's not much different from the plastic surgery you mentioned. Half a year ago, the last repair surgery was successful. That's why I look like this now. Chun Yin was stunned and stared at the news in a daze. Then, she looked at Yi Huanyan's face, which was completely different from before. Her tone was so relaxed that it made people think of her experience and feel sad. You. Before she could say anything, Chun Yin suddenly choked up. I always thought you emigrated abroad. Third sister lied to me. 5 years ago, when she was released from prison, the first person she saw after being released from prison was Gu Fengfeng, then Su Hong, and then her elder sister Zhuang Suqiu. Only Fu Yingxiang had been missing after being released from prison, and Yi Huanyan had only appeared once in Gu Fengfeng's mouth. She said that she had a miscarriage, and then divorced and emigrated abroad. Yi Huanyan guessed that the reason why Gu Fengfeng hid it from these people was that she didn't want them to feel sad for her. Su Hong and Zhuang Suqiu were very smart and probably knew the truth. Only Chun Yin, who was only 16 years old at that time, was very innocent and believed what others said. Over the years, she really thought that Yi Huanyan had gone abroad. Don't cry. Yi Huanyan put her arm around her shoulder and comforted her, as if she was comforting her daughter. Am I not fine now? And didn't you say that I'm beautiful? It doesn't matter. I have a lovely son. When I return to China, I'll take you to see him. Chun Yin sniffled, her face filled with righteous indignation. She said in a muffled voice, 5 years ago, if I had known that you were in a car accident, I would have ruthlessly beaten up that Ling Han and that Sheng Anren. One was blind and didn't know how to cherish you. The other was a vicious woman. Yi Huanyan rubbed her head. This may be the reason why third sister didn't want to tell you the truth. At the age of 16, Chun Yin was young and energetic. She did things based on loyalty, so she went to the juvenile detention center every 2 or 3 days. Gu Fengfeng probably also considered this, so she didn't want to tell her. Fortunately, now that things had changed, she could face the past calmly. Friends were still friends, and sisters were still sisters. The only thing to do was to make sure that her lover could return to the position of her lover again. Chapter 333. After sending off Chinyin, the only sound left in the house was the sound of running water in the bathroom. Yi Huanyan took a deep breath, opened her suitcase, took out her pajamas, and went into the bedroom to take a shower. The hot springs on the island were very famous. It was said that the water in the bathtub was hot spring water, which made people feel comfortable and comfortable. After charging her phone, messages came in one after another. She wiped her wet hands on the towel in the bathtub, then called the receptionist in Iceland. "Don't worry, my phone ran out of battery. I'm already at the hotel. Go and rest." It was the local guide on the other end of the phone, who was also a friend of Gu Qi's. He kept apologizing on the phone, because he couldn't get to Yi Huanyan. "It's okay. Just take me to the castle tomorrow afternoon." Her purpose of coming here was to see Guan Nai, but Ling Han had reminded her to see her after 2 o'clock p.m. because Guan Nai was in a bad mood before 2 o'clock p.m. when she slept. Yi Huanyan remembered that when she worked at the pleasure department, Guan Nai would disappear for at least 3 months every year. Now it seemed that she was hiding here for those 3 months to hibernate. After taking a shower and changing into her pajamas, Yi Huanyan saw Zheng Ro standing in front of the window in beige pajamas. Her phone kept ringing on the table, but she turned a deaf ear to it. She looked very lonely. She came here alone without booking a hotel in advance, and she didn't even check the weather here before coming here with a big suitcase. Yi Huanyan guessed that she might be angry with her family. "Why didn't you pick up the phone?" Yi Huanyan asked. The figure in front of the window stiffened slightly, then turned around and apologized. "Did I disturb you? I'll just turn off my phone." Yi Huanyan didn't say anything. She stood in front of the wine cabinet and picked up a bottle of red wine, then picked up 2 wine glasses and asked, "Do you want to drink?" Zheng Ro was busy turning off her phone. She was slightly stunned when she heard this. She looked up at Yi Huanyan and nodded hesitantly. The two of them sat on the bay window and drank a cup of wine. Zheng Ro's face was flushed red, and she was faintly drunk. "My husband has another woman in his heart." Yi Huanyan's heart skipped a beat. "Are you sure? Did your husband cheat on you?" "He didn't cheat. That woman has passed away." Zheng Ro looked sad. "But because she passed away, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't catch up to that woman." It was as if the things that were lost would become more important. Hearing this, Yi Huanyan's expression also darkened. She raised her head and drank a mouthful of wine. "Then we really are in the same boat." It was also her husband who treated her coldly, because of a woman who had passed away many years ago. They were both people who had fallen from grace. Zheng Ro couldn't hold her liquor. After 3 rounds of drinking, she was already drunk. She collapsed on the bay window and held Yi Huanyan's hand, calling him hubby. Yi Huanyan also drank a lot. After reluctantly putting her to bed, he leaned on the bay window and looked at the fog outside. Zheng Ro felt for her phone and answered the call. She cried and complained to the other party about how she had suffered all these years. Yi Huanyan felt bad when he heard this. It was as if he was reminded of himself 5 years ago, when the bottle of red wine in front of him was empty, and the glasses were all over the place. It was gradually dawn outside. Yi Huanyan had an appointment with Guan Nai in the afternoon. He didn't need to wake up early, but when he heard a rustling sound in his ears, he sleepily opened his eyes. He saw that Zheng Ro was already dressed and was adjusting the DSLR in her hands. She looked like she was about to go out. "You're going out so early?" Yi Huanyan yawned and turned over in bed. They had a hangover together and sympathized with each other. This was enough to strengthen their relationship. Sharing secrets was the fastest way to build a friendship. Zheng Ro seemed to be in high spirits. She had completely forgotten about last night's heartbreak. She sat beside Yi Huanyan in high spirits. "Do you want to go with me? I want to take photos of the glacier. It's so beautiful." Yi Huanyan quickly waved his hand. No, I'm so tired. I just want to sleep. You go. I want to sleep for a while. Did you come to Iceland to sleep? What a pity. Zhang Ro looked regretful. Yi Huanyan sighed and tried to open his eyes. Xiaoro, how old are you? 25. Why? Yi Huanyan stretched out a palm and 2 fingers. She said seriously. I'm 7 years older than you. I'm 32 years old this year. I'm considered an old person. I can't stand the torment. I can't get up with a hangover like you. This is a physical degeneration. Zhang Ro smiled and put the DSLR bag behind her. Sister Yin Yen, you don't look old. I won't disturb your rest. I'll go first. Oh right, I wrote a sticky note and put it on the table. If you want to go, remember to look for me. I'll stay until nightfall. Yi Huanyan answered unhappily. When she heard the door close, she pulled the blanket over her head and went back to sleep. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the local guide was waiting for Yi Huanyan downstairs. The ancient castle where Guan Nai stayed was left here in the last century. It was heavily guarded. The two of them tried to communicate with the bearded guard at the entrance for a long time. But the guard refused to let them in, let alone let them in. Are we not allowed to enter this place? Yi Huanyan was a little disheartened. The guide was a young woman. At this moment she was frowning. Her innocent little face was red as she said embarrassedly, "It wasn't like this when I came here 2 days ago. At most it was 3 days ago. People were suddenly transferred here. I don't think we can go in today. Do you want me to ask about the situation and then inform you?" Yi Huanyan sighed. That's the only way. Sorry to trouble you. The scenery on the island is pretty good. Where do you want to go, President Gu? I'll take you there. Speaking of this, Yi Huanyan took out a piece of paper from her pocket. Is this place far from here? It's a polar glacier. The guide smiled. It's not far. I'll take you there. There should be a lot of tourists taking photos there. But it's almost the off-season, so it should be okay. The scenery there is really good. When they arrived at the destination, Yi Huanyan couldn't help but shiver. The temperature difference between different places on the island was a little big. She was only wearing a thin sweater. When she got out of the car, a gust of cold wind hit her in the face, making her shiver. The guide handed her a coat. Wear my coat first. The temperature is dropping these 2 days. It's better to wear a thick coat when you go out. The temperature difference on the island is huge. Yi Huanyan thanked him and put on the coat. She felt a little warmer. Do you need me to wait for you here? No need. Yi Huanyan waved her hand. My friend is here. I'll meet her. You can go about your business. After saying goodbye to the guide, Yi Huanyan walked along the glacier shore to look for Zhang Ro. From afar, she saw an orange-yellow figure. She was wearing a down jacket and snow boots. She was looking for an angle on the glacier. The bright orange color was particularly eye-catching in the white and blue sky. Yi Huanyan vaguely felt that she had seen this girl somewhere before. Orange top, checkered short skirt. Suddenly, a thread connected in her mind. A sweet voice came out. Sister Yin Yen, I think you are the best match for our brother Hua. You're tuning in to the Earbook Haven YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.